Okay, we're live. We are here. Everybody say
I
hi.
do not hear your voice on YouTube. I lied. I hear it now.
Yeah. There you go. I got the echo even. Hi, everybody. It's time for 2018. Sorry for the delay, everyone. That was excessively long for what I had hoped. Um, I got caught up going into the office today, and that was a poor decision, as it turns out. Anyway, who do we have on stream right now? Obviously, I'm Ben. Looks like we've got in the chat. Dave and Dia are muted. Jeremy and Mike are there, and Brian, who you heard just briefly.
Yeah, I'm here.
You sound so excited.
So excited.
Oh, and Mike, I get some echo from you.
I'm around. Hey guys.
Hey, Dia. All right, here we go. Kicking it off. All right, and
I'm intrigued by the watch numbers because we had a lot, and then as soon as we started, it plummeted. But now it's working its way back up.
Yeah, I'm wondering what that is.
People must not have realized what they were watching. They're like, "Oh, here's a great 30-minute documentary that's
Right. Yeah, that music.
wrong place."
That intro music. There we go. Those of you in the Discord watching, I have it live there now, so you should have the zero delay on that one. All right. And then, so let's see. So 2018 is one that I started cutting up, which I think I am generally more generous than most. I include the intro and the names of all the pushers and stuff like that.
So what we're watching here, we're kicking this off actually out of order a bit. This is a Saturday exhibition. This is the timing heat on Saturday featuring Robo Buggy's new buggy Nand. We don't have the videos. It's part of the full stream, but we haven't caught up the two Friday robotic rolls. Although really it's one and a half. Friday's timing heat was Atlas's baby buggy debut, and it did not get very far down the course. After about 6 minutes, it got to about here, where Robobuggy is, or where Nand is now, and they ended up just packing it up and putting it in the back of the truck, which makes for an awkward timing heat because that doesn't really make it so that you're testing the timing system in any way. Um, Robobuggy's roll was a little better on Friday. They rolled between women's and men's. This is the timing heat on Saturday. The roll is actually slightly slower than they were on Friday, but still a perfectly reasonable roll. This one, however, not fully autonomous. This is
I was
remote
gonna say
control. Follow truck.
this one very clearly is not autonomous.
Yeah, this is a very smooth roll. Although the buggy is pretty significantly slowing down here from where it was at the start of the free roll, which does make you wonder a little bit.
Pusher knows where to pick it up. That's good.
Well, kinda. I mean, he kinda almost got run over.
Well, at least you knew to pick it up in the chute and not waiting for it at hill 3.
Very true.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're getting started here after our own little rain delay. The weather in 2018 was not a problem. As you can see here, it's pretty sunny and
It's
was
glorious.
very sunny both days. So very cold. It only reached about the mid 40s as a high on either day.
Mm-hmm.
And here, this Hill 4 push are going to go all out on the shove. I lied. I'm looking at my wrong notes, apparently.
Are you looking at the actual first heat of the day?
I don't know what I'm looking at. All right, now I'm going to be curious.
You're gonna be curious?
I'm gonna be very curious here. I lied. This is Friday's exhibition. This is the Friday heat.
I didn't screw it up.
Well, you didn't. You didn't. Because
What
I
happened here?
think the
I messed
file
up.
name says it's Saturday. No?
I mean,
Maybe I'm
We have
wrong.
we have a little Barsham on the screen.
we do. Only 2 years younger, but yeah.
I looked so much better
Okay,
the year before.
little is relative.
That's fair.
Oh hey, well why did
And Will and Aubrey. Yes, this is when we managed to convince Aubrey to try out broadcasting.
and I think I'm pushing this heat, which is exciting.
Very exciting. Fringe D?
Yes, this is actually a great heat because you get to watch the current sweepstakes. The current sweepstakes are being pushed by the. Sorry, my push to talk keeps cutting out. I pushed Tisha on Hill 3 in this heat.
Nice.
Can I?
This is Bisa's last ever race day heat.
Wow.
I am very confused by your naming convention of these files because the first video says 2018 exhibition prelims timing, and I don't know if that means this is the exhibitions or this is the prelims.
Well, no. So any heat that's not a normal heat is an exhibition, and then prelims and finals is which day it is.
Okay, so by exhibition prelims timing, you don't mean okay. You meant Friday's timing,
Yeah.
which is still not entirely right because it wasn't actually the timing heat. But I will give you credit for getting the right.
Oh, was
day.
it the midday one? It did seem later in the day.
Yeah, it was the midday.
Okay.
Atlas was the timing heat, and it didn't go well. So that does explain why we don't have the Saturday one, because again, that would be the weird file that is in 2017, as we learned last week.
Right.
Oh geez, okay. I remember this heat, and I get very badly burned on Hill 3. I don't know if that's picked up by CMU TV, but it was embarrassing and has followed me. It followed me to this day. I have not gone past it.
I do have a note that says Hill 3 pusher got dusted, but I assume that. But my note, I kind of assume that's Apex and not Fringe.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
It's probably on Apex. I think, as I remember, we both got burned.
It was a very good weather day for it, so.
It was, and
Yeah.
Bisa never rolled this fast during free rolls, and Tisha gave me a very hard time about it. She was like, "You didn't think I'd be as fast as I was," and I was like, "Damn right I didn't." There I am, getting burned.
Right on the corner there. You made up a lot of ground, or Tisha made up a lot of ground, I should say, in the free roll.
She did. I remember she kept a lot of speed through that turn. I was not expecting it.
Yeah. So, Andrea, these are all soccer people then? Is that right?
No, these are actually Frisbee people.
Frisbee, that's right. That's right. They switched between soccer and Frisbee. I forgot. Or I guess the men's are...
Yeah. So the men's team, the one with the letter A was soccer, and the one with the letter B was Frisbee. I don't know. I guess for the women's team it was just Frisbee.
The one with the letter B, you mean their A team and their B team? Or are they
We
actually
hesitate
wearing...
to call them... Sorry, Apex. I think we hesitate to call them A team and B team because who knows which one is faster than the other.
I see.
No, I think it's pretty clear which one is faster than the other. It's just they're wrongly lettered.
They're just wrongly lettered.
That is one that we can measure,
like,
yeah.
On any given year, who knows which one's faster?
Fair enough. I see what you're saying.
One just has the letter A and the other has the letter B, and that's what we know for sure.
So this is Bisa's last roll. This is Bisa's last year, right? 2018.
This is Bisa's last ever roll. She only ever rolled this year on Women's D, and that's my roommate.
Oh, and the
yeah,
few videos that I added in cards.
That was the end of her 7-year tenure, or 6, 7.
Can't underestimate those frisbee guys. Yeah, good point, Bobby. The frisbee has a lot of running involved. For anybody that hasn't played ultimate competitively, it's a lot of sprinting around. And then
Did you know that Pittsburgh has a professional ultimate frisbee team?
I did hear that at some point, which actually, so funny story. My first boss's boss, I guess, when I worked for Four Moms, Henry Thorne, who founded Four Moms, or one of the founders of Four Moms. He is, I don't know if he still is, but he was at the time a president or a board member of the U.S. National Frisbee Association, or whatever it's called. And he was one of the voting members and like founding members or something like that. So just by virtue of him living here and the fact that his kids and all of that were Sigep.
Yeah, I was going to say, you may want to rewind slightly to just call attention to that if you're watching.
Jump back slightly. Check that out. Just to make fun of Sigep, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, because of that, I'm that would be why I would know that, or the only reason that I would know.
Speaking of, I think we have Reed visible on the broadcast. So drink.
Yeah, there he is.
I remember that buggy drop, and you could see them dropping that from a mile away.
Oh yeah, it was a very slow drop. It was just like a slow. It was already low, and it was just getting lower and lower and lower.
It's that foot over foot walk sideways. You can't do that. You kind of have to shuffle.
Yeah.
Also fun to note here is the switch for the buggies. So B team has Equinox for CAA, A team has Emperor, but it's flip-flop for the men.
And we talked about this last week, but why again did you guys do that? It's just personal preference, right? Because your push bars are different heights from one buggy to another.
Yeah, we just got asked, and I preferred pushing Emperor uphill one, so we picked Emperor.
That's a good reason. It does, I feel like, make the most difference for Hill 1, mostly because of the start.
Absolutely. Hill 1 is the reason we put bumper on A, but we'll get to that.
If Andrea wants to give any inside information as to how Emperor went from a D team in 2017 to an A team in 2018, I don't think certain people would object to that here.
I wasn't super involved in the org at that time, but from my understanding, the push bar got replaced, so it stopped being so difficult to push.
There was a lot of issues with Emperor. At first, we were talking about making the push bar a lot shorter, and then somehow it got even taller than all the rest. And then I think we didn't have it painted. We were having a lot of problems with the build overall.
The good thing is that these guys weren't super involved with the actual changes, so the real changes will remain unknown.
It's also one of those things of a new buggy in the first year, right? You always try and make a good buggy and something that's going to be amazing, but it's the first year, you got to work out the kinks.
Yeah, but
Bobby, it sounds like you know the real reason and want to tell us.
He goes mute. Sounds like he knows the real reason, and no.
Well, I think the main reason is actually visible, so if you watch the video closely enough, you might be able to figure it out.
Ooh, tantalizing.
obviously he means the paint job.
That was a big
No,
difference.
the paint job was perfect.
I was a fan of the chalk paint, actually, that first year that we had small children draw on it with chalk. It brought us good luck.
That is adorable. It should be visible. All right. Well, we'll keep our eyes open to see. I feel like I should pull up a picture from 2017. I would expect SIG-FC to be faster than the CIAC, but that's also from my period in time.
I do want to quickly shout out SIG-FC here because they managed to get Hydra fixed enough to get it back on the course, which isn't nothing.
Well, that was from the previous year, right?
Well, 2016 when it, you know,
Or 2 years. Yeah.
flipped and did bad things. Did it roll in 2017?
Maybe that was 2016. I don't know. All the weeks are sort of rolling together now, and I've lost track.
Yeah, I think this is the. They did not roll in 2017. I remember being surprised when Hydra came back.
They did a major change to the steering. Notice that it's not underneath the buggy anymore.
Okay, so women's heat 3 here is Spirit Beast Seraph versus Pika Beast Cleona. So this was a year, and I'm sure if Willie or a Pika person is on, they can speak more to this. But Cleona, Pika throughout the year only had one driver. They only had Victoria, and the week before Truck Weekend, they managed to, I guess, find a new driver. Taylor, I think is her name. I don't have that in front of me, but she got one roll in prior to Truck Weekend, and then managed to get 14 rolls in on Truck Weekend. And it's a little unclear to me if she needed an exemption to qualify as a result of getting so many rolls on Truck Weekend, or if.
So
Hey, this is Willie. Am I on? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Go for
yep,
it,
we
Willie.
hear you,
Okay.
Willie.
Yep. So
You wanna-
what had happened was, from the beginning of the year, we had two drivers. One being a freshman that only fit into Raptor. So we were trying to find a driver for Clio. We had decided we would just go two buggies, Banshee and Raptor, but then Raptor wasn't going to qualify, and our girl couldn't make the last two weekends. So we had to scramble. Taylor drove a little bit in Raptor earlier, but had never done Clio. So she had two back-to-back weekends to qualify. It ended up being a situation where, because of what had happened to SIGEP a couple of years earlier when they tried to qualify all in one weekend and then crashed, Casey was really, really, really hesitant about allowing us to race. So then the decision ended up being no heating the wheels, and she would just roll as is in Clio. It ended up being a lot of rolls that one weekend for her. She was an absolute trooper and did a great job for us. So we really like Taylor.
And you can.
And Willie, was this the year that the rule got introduced about not being able to qualify a driver entirely on Truck Weekend, or was?
Yes, after this, that decision was made because we were pointing to the fact that there was no such rule, and Casey was like, there should be a rule, and so.
But so as you can see in the free roll, like if you ever had doubt about whether heating and treating wheels made a difference, I mean, Seraph is not a faster buggy than Cleona, I don't think. But that was a pretty significant gap that Seraph made up in the free roll.
I'm glad Willie's on, because I was going to give a partial answer because I was friends with Josio this year, and so I heard some of it from his perspective, but I know it was just a very contentious decision overall.
Yeah, and I think Sweepstakes had an excellent point in why they didn't want us to roll, and I 100% respect the way they handled it. I think our argument was the girl has put in a lot of work, just let her race. I don't know. I think there was a lot of things that went into that decision. I think everyone handled it really well. And I know from being in Sweepstakes how tough of a decision that is to make. And I think Josio and who is overall chair that year?
Overall chair this year.
Camille,
And
that's what. Yeah.
Elise was asked her.
Yeah, they did a great job, and I think we're really transparent with all the decisions that they made, and we're very open honest with us. So I do appreciate them.
I will say one other thing about Pika that came up in the article for this week. Pika's drivers this year reportedly were a little aggressive in their driving. I think Spirit in particular was very unhappy. Not necessarily for. I mean, they have this heat, and then they have a men's heat that is going to be far more controversial.
So we can talk when we get to the men's heat. I was not happy reading your history of Buggy, but I'm sure other people have different opinions, and we can talk about that later. But I think there's a big difference between a driver who has driven for 3 weekends and people saying she deviated from her line versus someone that was a 3 or 18 driver who was very, very clear about their line. And we had a tight agreement with Spirit that whoever was in back of that heat was just going to break. I don't think tensions were very high with Spirit after the men's A, but we can talk more about that later.
That's fair, and this is just a general point. If there are things that people disagree with about the articles, feel free to let me know. I'm happy to change them. I am simply reporting the things that have been told to me or that I've read in articles or other places. So if there are things that you see that are either incorrect or that you have a different take on, the point of this the point of the articles are to live on so that, at any point someone can look back and be like, oh, what was 2018 like? And then you can read all of these stories beyond just here's the times, which are useful and are great from a racing perspective and from the perspective of the sport. But oftentimes there's a lot of interesting stories behind the scenes that you lose with just the times themselves. So if you've got other things, additions, changes, things that seem wrong, anything like that, feel free to let me know, and I have continued to update. If you've got photos that haven't been shared before, I will be going back after these next 2 weeks are over. I've got a bunch of SDC ones to update. I've got some updates that have been in the queue for a little while that I just haven't gotten around to. But we've also been updating over time too. I mean, even if you go back, if you look at the 1920s, the 1926 article now, you will see additional photos in there from when it was originally posted. So these things keep getting updated.
I think we're losing her off the video feed, but Jean's kilt is a highlight of this heat.
That's fair. This is obviously CIAD's driver/mechanic team. But you don't see the kilt. It's usually suits and formal wear. Kilts are unique.
Kilts are more rare. We've definitely had at least one before. We had one my junior year, I think, junior or senior year. Jeff Panza pushed in a kilt from one of the Kilty Band kilts, actually, and Gina's wearing one of the Pipes and Drum Band kilts. They are different kilts.
I apologize. I got distracted when this race was starting. Is there any possibility that we could jump back to the start again, and then we can jump back to the stop sign? I mean, the reason I say that is because I want to point out SIGEP.
SIGEP coming out super early?
No, not them coming out super early. You can jump a little bit. You can jump at least until SDC's out at the line. Because I want to point out with the countdown.
They're coming.
They come out at what, 30 seconds?
They're out now.
So just watch the difference between SDC and SIGEP here when the countdown begins.
All right, I'll turn up the audio. Eight, 7, 6, 5.
SIGEP doesn't even put the buggy down until they're at 6 seconds. Like, just so people know, SIGEP was DQ'd for a 5-second violation here. Which makes sense because if you're not going to put the buggy down until 6, you're not getting out of there by 5. Like, it's just not going to happen. But I don't know if that's just, a lack of practice or an unawareness or stupidity or what it is. But I totally get holding the buggy up. Like, I mean, SDC has no problem. Put it down at 10. Put it down at 8. You got plenty of time to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
But do you just not realize? Like, I'm curious if someone from SIGEP is around and wants to explain that decision.
I have a theory that sometimes when teams come out that early to the line, it's easy, especially when you're a sleep-deprived mechanic, to just kind of space out.
That actually does make some sense.
It does, although given that you had 4 people, you would hope that one of them would be like, "Hey, let's go."
Well, they're probably waiting for the one guy, whoever, to make the first move. I
Right.
think a couple of years before this, right, there was Pike's 5-second DQ, where it was literally just the guy standing in front of the nose of the buggy, not even holding it, making sure it wasn't over the line.
Mm.
And I remember seeing him there. I'm like, he's not with us right now. He was just,
Right.
thinking about something else for about 2 seconds too long. It's, really sucks to see something like that happen.
Although, so it sucks to see it happen. Although that's sort of why it was created. Not just standing around specifically, but like just having somebody hang around to mess with the other buggies, right? Like that's the story that we hear of why that rule exists.
Yeah, and to be fair, this isn't even the last time today that we will see one of these types of 5-second DQs, and I think there is some merit to the argument that it shouldn't be an automatic DQ. Like, it should be, if you're not intentionally interfering with someone, or you're not egregious, like, if it's you're out of the way at 4.5 seconds instead of 5 seconds, should that really be a DQ? I don't know. I mean, technically, it's not even 5 seconds before the start of the race. It's more like 7 or 8, because the countdown has already said go after you get to 1.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
the problem, right, when you start making rules fuzzy like that is eventually you have to draw a line, and you're just, you're just shifting it. So then, it's like, okay, now someone's there at 1. Like, what do we do? It's you're not solving the problem. You're just sort of kicking the.
I do think lost in all the discussion of the 5-second rule was how close SDCC was to SIGAP A that entire race until Hill 5, where Julia Adams, who was SIGAP's Hill 5, really pulled away.
Yeah, that was a fantastic C team performance for the
Just
SDC
an incredible C team.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did admittedly talk over the fact that SDC led for the first 2/3 of the race.
Avarice really likes beating A teams.
Barsham, do you want to respond to Adam in the chat?
That it's more of a guideline. I mean, I don't disagree with that. It's
Well,
just
you saw the first part though, right? C teams that beat their B teams should be executed. 5 seconds is more of a guideline.
I do not see that first part.
Oh,
I only see Alton Marchand 5 seconds is more of a guideline.
That's interesting that you missed that part, or that it's not showing up for you, I guess, because it's literally the previous chat. Oh no, Fidel, no.
See, this is a much more reasonable 5-second DQ.
Yeah.
Like the Buggy. I also like that she's waiting alongside lane.
Right.
One.
They nearly clocked that Hill 1 pusher in the head with the push bar. Did you see that?
Yeah. So
But
okay.
watch how did you see how they carried it out though? They weren't doing the foot over foot, so they didn't drop.
True. They didn't drop it, yeah. Now that's a situation where if you are that late, if you are the Hill 1 pusher, would you want to be trained to know to go back there and just push it up to the line from there instead of having them carry it out? Because that way you don't get the DQ. You just start further back and are a little more tired. I mean, of course, you hope to not have that problem in the first place, but could have saved them there, right? If they had just put it down at 5 and the Hill 1 pusher came and grabbed her.
Yeah, it's certainly a strategy. I part of me wonders if Hill 1 pushers would really be that aware that like, I mean, oftentimes Hill 1 pushers haven't been there year round. You're not getting a ton of Hill 1 practice. I don't know if Hill 1 pushers would even be thinking in the moment that, oh man, we're at like 7 seconds. They're just going to put it down back at the truck and I have to push it all the way up from there.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know the 5-second DQ was a thing until like junior year, so I completely agree with that statement.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were just like, don't go before go, and I was like, cool, can do.
Interesting.
But it's fine because you can touch the buggy.
So here's a perfect illustration of why small wheels are not great.
All
Yeah,
those little
Dia,
tracks.
if you have thoughts about bumper, I mean, now's a great time to share them.
Oh, I have so many thoughts about Bumper, but I have too much respect for my fellow e-board members that year to air them all. However, I will say that a lot of the reason we chose Bumper for our women's A team was we did the math. We found out that our women's A Hill 1 dropped a full second when she was pushing Bumper. Our free roll was about a second worse. And the back hills, our free rolls and hill 3 were about the same, or were a second worse. And our 4 and 5 were about the same, so we figured it was a wash. It was not.
Is it just because of the wheels?
Yeah, Bumper is a very good buggy other than small wheels. That's what's so heartbreaking about it, to be honest.
I mean, you forgot your old fringe knowledge, right? If you want small wheels, you need 9 of them to be fast.
I will say for the record that our buggy e-board this year was 3 people. And I was never on board with small wheels, but I was outvoted 2-1. So I'm not going to disagree with you.
I also think that that was the wrong lesson to take away from that, because Fringe went from 3 to 4 to 9, so I'm assuming 16 wheels would be next.
Yeah, the logic follows.
I'm very impressed to hear that Fringe's e-board. Was this for Buggy? It was just 3 people? That's crazy. Like CIA
Yeah,
officers.
Andrea and I have had long conversations about CIA's e-board. This was the year, honestly, you don't think of it now, but my sophomore year, so 2017, Fringe would have days where we would have a total of like 7 people show up to roll 5 buggies.
Yep. Sounds familiar.
Wow.
Can relate.
3 people is also not including 2 push captains and a head driver. I guess they don't make decisions on.
It all depends on how you set up your leadership structure. I mean,
It might not surprise.
Eventually I did cave on the small wheels. There was about a 20-page Google Doc that was just a heated discussion between like the 3 of us plus a couple of alums. And in the end I did cave, and I was outvoted, and I was like, fine, we'll do it. But I was never really happy about it. And I was right.
It won't surprise people to learn that there is a heated discussion going on in the YouTube chat about the rank DQ, but we will talk more about that during the men's heats. So I will save some of this for then.
As for Connor's comment about Bumper being slower on small wheels, but Raptor, Banshee, and Clio were speedy for years on small wheels, I would say that a lot of that was push teams. A lot of that was also we just hadn't had time to hone in the small wheels. So I do think Bumper could have gotten faster if we'd taken more years dedicated to the small wheel design. But it wasn't worth it.
Oh, I want to.
Small wheels really help if you're a team like Echo with like really good pushers. We have like maybe B tier pushers on really good buggies. The difference you get on small wheels isn't as drastic as you see with small wheels.
I think with a better push team and with more time to hone in the small wheels to figure out how to treat them properly, because we didn't fully know how to treat them, you would have seen Bumper be a lot faster. But I still think it would have been faster on big wheels.
I forgot to point out here at the start of this race, but we will catch it on the finals. The Hill 1 pusher for Pica A in 2018, Laura Oxner, just won a scholarship from Ford of some for like engineering, where she's one of 10 people worldwide who win this award. So congratulations to her if she's watching.
Is amazing. I've worked with her in the context of Robo Capstone. I wasn't on her team this year, but they displayed a really awesome live demo yesterday for Capstone demonstrations.
Ooh, a little burn there.
Also missed at the very start of this that Apex had an airplane. I see one watching now, but there's many chat, so we definitely have more than one. I'm also looking at an error occurred. Please try again later. So I assume once it's up and running again, I have to hit refresh. By the way, you made the right choice in not having the auto end stream this week.
Now, I guess we had all you guys. We didn't have me on the stream there. Okay. Hey everybody, we're back. Did we leave off on the Pike Apex heat?
Yeah, we were in the middle of that.
Okay, we'll just start that over then. Here we go. let me share the Discord real quick.
All right, so now if we're looking at this again, I can now point out if you look in front of Apex's buggy, have an airplane director person.
Yeah,
I don't know what they're called.
I was pointing at that traffic control guy. All right. That's shared. Okay, it looks like everything's back. This computer's nice, but man, is it awful.
And Apex C already out on the course.
All right.
Up their
I need
buggies.
to make
STCD
that quieter.
not
There we go.
there, but I believe there's about 30 seconds.
All right, we're back. We're back. We're going. I'm gonna open my window again, get some cool air going.
I believe Apex C, if I'm seeing that correctly, has an airline person to guide the.
Oh, and there I am on the broadcast mentioning the airline dude,
I was
who
gonna
I
say,
don't think I knew what they're called either.
Yeah, you made the same sort of remark. Yeah.
Because that broadcaster is a genius and only notices the important things.
That was impressive.
He got the point across.
No, they just seem to be flying up the hill right now.
They're looking really good right here. I think 21 was the previous fastest hill one. This is going to be
21.
Right about that.
All right, I'm just gonna do nothing for the rest of the broadcast, and we'll see how that goes.
What they're there. We talked about her before, but a scholarship for robotics and engineering.
Things are away. Pike A really just flying ahead.
Apex C just going over hill 2 now, so that gives you.
Yeah, so we'll see if we get further in this race this time than we did last time, or if your computer just doesn't like to do a race.
Solid separation here, so now it's just a question of whether they can make it, whether they all make it through the chute cleanly, which so far everyone today has.
I want to point out, even in my notes, I said that Apex has an airplane guider person at the starting line, and I capitalized the A-G and P in airplane guider person. So that must be the official term.
You know what? You're nothing if not consistent.
This is true.
Very nice turn right there. A lot of momentum preserved into this hill 3 transition. Looks like she timed that up pretty nicely. Buggy maybe getting away a little bit there on the backside, but
it's not a great hill 3 pickup. But yeah, admittedly, this for 2018, I mean the second half of the women's prelims were not all that exciting, in that none of the races were all that close, and the teams that were going to win won easily.
Which is intentional, based on seeding and heat selection. That's sort of the whole point of it.
Well, yeah, it's definitely definitely intentional, and I guess it's a good thing that it happened. But it's also, I've also noticed, I mean, the last couple of years that the women's heats in general have been cleaner than the men's, and I'm not sure what the reasoning for that is.
I I feel like the men's have been getting closer together. Like there's still a pretty big discrepancy between women's times and the men's times. Men's times tend to be more clustered, as far as I can tell. Um,
Here it looks like SDCD
so it's
coming
easier to
up,
get more separation.
uphill 5 now, and there we can see Apex C. I believe
That might be true.
Still Hill 4 coming up on the Hill 4-5 transition.
Let's see where SDC.
But as far as
I
number of
appreciate
heats,
that.
good.
No, no, I was going to say, just on a different topic, I was just saying, I appreciate the fact that during that whole crash, the chat kept going, and this whole time it's been a discussion of rank DQ.
Oh, Adam's favorite topic.
We'll get there. We will get there.
Yeah.
The D stands for depth. They can roll out.
And if I can
really quality teams.
if I can voice a commentator's complaint about SDC, if they could change their name from Student Dormitory Council to something that doesn't have a D and a C before a D or a C team, because we've said SDCC like 20 times now.
Interesting. Sophie is pointing out. So as much as we will talk about the fact that Apex did not seem to know how the alphabet works. They weren't the only ones who had a lower lettered team beat a higher lettered team. SIGEP did too. I assumed it was a mechanical issue. Sophie is suggesting that there may have been other reasons, but we will get to that as well, all in the men's heats.
In lane 2, we have SAEA.
Here there are 4 more women's prelims heats. This first one, this is the debut of SAEA's new buggy, Eileen. Good stories on Eileen, thanks to Jasio, Dave Singh, and you can read about it in the 2018 article. But as a brief summary, SAE brought Lucy out to Cape in the fall. I assume with new driver Larry Wu, who is an SAE brother and the only male driver this year. But he could not fit when he put the helmet on. They couldn't get Lucy closed. Rather than fix up Lucy, they decided they would just build a new one, and it was basically a one-man build team. And I am blanking on the guy's name, but I am pulling up the thing now. So if someone else on here knows without me looking it up, otherwise, Chris Calder is his name. So Chris Calder designed the buggy and basically built it somewhat on his own. I guess he had a team to help with the wraps, and supposedly Jasio, the safety chair that year, gave some tips and may have also assisted them in getting some stuff done in the build. But they were able to get Eileen out to the course.
From what I've heard from Jasio, him being slightly involved is definitely either an understatement or him being very modest. He was very involved in that build. And he's like very invested as much as you can be without being biased, because he did a lot of time in 18 that year.
That was me being humble on Jasio's behalf.
Yeah.
Credit for a decent chunk of that build.
Okay, so it's you being humble on Jasio's behalf. He definitely was very involved that year.
Yes. Also, I just want to point out here, I mean, Bozon with the C team just catching up to Invisid. Like that's.
Bozon's a very fast buggy.
Yep. Well, and Spirit's not particularly quick through the chute, generally. They have very strong pushers. They have very strong downhill, but just the chute section, they tend to lose a lot of speed. Also, I do have to reply to Adam in the chat. McHugh, I will say that I never slept before rolls, regardless, except for one day, and that one day I did sleep before rolls. I was sent home because I was not functional. So I will say, to each their own. Find out what works for you.
Heading into this finish line, trying to get them a really nice time qualifying for tomorrow, and she is flying right there. Ton of power pushing on that bar, and this is looking to be a really nice.
The real rough mornings was Buggy in the morning and then Kilty Band rehearsal in the
Oh,
late morning and afternoon.
those were brutal. Those were brutal. I mean, the worst was, I think, rolls in the morning and then a game.
Well, that's when that happened. It only ever happened when there was a game.
Rolls in the morning and then playing a game were not fun either.
I'm gonna
believe
go with
that.
Willie on that one. That's
I believe
terrible.
that.
Also, speaking of games, we missed Alex Moyes, Hill 5, just a remarkable athlete. Love her.
I'm pretty sure there was like a running joke with Spirit that Moy had the record on every single hill for their push practice times. She
I
was
wouldn't be shocked.
so fast.
Phenomenal. It was always the best in soccer. She was our left back, and other teams would look at her and be like, oh, okay, just like chip the ball over that teeny tiny little defender all day long. We'll get lots of opportunities on goal. But she has one of the highest verticals in the athletics department. So they try and put something over her, and she just jump like 3 feet in the air, and she's just remarkable.
And in lane 1 SDCB, their Hill 1 pusher, Mary St. John.
How many soccer players push for Buggy?
Hill 3,
I don't think there were a lot this year. There were, I think, probably the most in any of my years happened in 2017.
That sounds about right.
That was the year that like Apex's like whole women's team was the soccer team.
Yep, that's the one. My class.
Didn't they have a year with
my class for soccer really lost interest. Yeah, so I think Apex men might have still been soccer this year, but I know from my year on soccer, there were 12 freshmen my year. Eventually got down to being only 4 seniors graduating from the women's soccer team, but they largely lost interest after freshman year, mostly because they didn't want to wake up.
Yep, that sounds about right. That's probably the biggest reason that people
Wake
don't
up for Buggy, wake up for soccer.
A combination of both, because a lot of our morning practices were in the morning. Waking up additional times in the morning is not very appealing.
I will say I have a very high level of respect for anyone who's involved in actual college athletics, because I was not, and it sounds like an absolute nightmare in terms of scheduling. Like, it's probably a lot of fun. It just seems like it's an awful experience.
You are correct. Scheduling is a nightmare. It's also kind of tough because it's kind of a 50-50 with professors. Some of them like respect what you do on the field and recognize that you have a lot of like team skills and stuff that some students may not possess, and they really respect that and leverage it. But other professors will not work with you whatsoever if you have to miss class for game or travel or anything like that. They're really stubborn, and sometimes you have to pull in the athletics department to work on your behalf, because technically it is encoded into the university policies that if you're missing coursework or anything for athletic events, that you are required to be allowed to make it up.
It's good to know.
So, random question for you, Andrea, because you are the resident athlete on this right now. Do you ever wish that you had gone to a school that cared more about that had a student population that cared more about athletics than CMU does?
Sometimes. So this was actually the only D3 school that I was looking at. I was looking at largely D1 schools, but then I just decided that I cared more about academics, because I would have had to be a completely different athlete to actually take my sport to a professional level. So I'm really glad that I did come to CMU, because academics are more important to me than sports, although sports do keep you happy, healthy, etc.
We're glad
That's fair.
You.
I imagine that's probably the case for most of the people who end up coming to CMU to do athletics. I think most people would consider themselves students first and athletes second.
It's actually a really interesting dynamic. Oh, there's Sophia. But it's actually a really interesting dynamic, because a lot of the caliber of athletes here are really different in terms of how much they care about school, and they also tend to have like stronger I don't want to say work ethic, but just like in general, like motivation, and tend to be like almost a smarter athlete. It's a really cool mix, because I have never had an athletic team where I could sit down and have a book club meeting during preseason, but that happened on the soccer team.
Pretty cool.
Just behind Fringe A, if that time holds officially.
So I was too interested in soccer to bring up the fact that this heat with SDCB, this was Malice. Unfortunately, this is Malice's last race day. For reasons that will happen later in 2019. But this is Inferno took over SDC, and I think from the viewpoint of an unintelligent or maybe not unintelligent, but from the viewpoint of someone who was not paying too much attention and didn't realize that SDC had built a buggy for Annie Black, who was a senior in 2018. I think from the outside looking in, it's like, are you guys crazy? Why would Malice not be your A-team buggy? It makes sense once you know that other fact, but at the time, for someone who didn't know, it's like, what are you guys doing? You've got the best buggy of all time, and you're going to make it your B team? Though I guess that actually worked out pretty well for SDC. So.
So, has Inferno rolled this year? Earlier this year, I mean?
I believe, which at once upon a time was one of the top.
I don't believe it had been out in 2020 or fall of 2019, but
I think you're right.
Alright, so I'm wondering if maybe it was too built for Annie Black, and they can't find anyone to fit in this buggy. Wow, look who it is on Hill 1.
So
that was a great start, by the way. You got off the ground really quickly.
Thank you.
So Inferno actually did roll this year once it rolls, I believe.
This is Emperor, which was built last year and actually.
I believe we have that recorded somewhere.
Oh,
They have fixed it up and improved it enough.
great transition
But
here.
yes, there's Andrea.
Hannah's so good at
I
picking
want that
up the
view.
1-2.
Yeah, I mean, Hannah's been doing it for so long. She's
but not terrible.
got the experience at this point.
A lot of people, and by a lot of people I think I mean me, just kind of assumed Hill 2 is super easy, and it's not. Like
No.
there's a lot of technique involved in Hill 2.
I would argue that Hill 2 is maybe the most technically challenging than of any hill.
I think 3 is technically challenging, and like what you need practice for are maybe 2 different things. But 3, you need to practice a lot to figure out where you're going to stand. It's more you try to shove, and if you shove a little early, it's probably fine as long as you get a good shove on.
So
Hill 3,
I would say that it changes a lot on Raceday versus than any other hill. Like Hill 2 is probably the most complicated on Raceday. I mean, Hill 3 is definitely challenging, like knowing where to pick up, so you can get the best pickup and all that good stuff. But
I might
you're
say,
generally not interacting with other pushers as much.
like, from a semi-uneducated standpoint, I would say that Hill 3 probably has the highest skill floor, where it's really easy to screw up. But Hill 2 might have the highest skill ceiling, where there's a lot of room for small improvements.
I can see it. I can see it.
you guys are also with your this is all based on a good team with a good buggy. When you're on a slow team with a slow buggy, Hill 3 is not that difficult to judge. Just pointing that out.
That's reasonable. Although I will say the CIA buggies of my time were not particularly fantastic. But I also never pushed Hill 3, so can't speak too much to that one.
My biggest issue with 2 is finding out a good way to time different people on 2 and be able to compare, just because it's something you can only time during free rolls, since you can't push a buggy down the hill during push practice. And even that, there's just a lot of issues inherently with timing Hill 2s during free rolls. So
honestly,
that's
timing
that
Hill 2 is less of a concern when, from my experience, it's more of how well they mesh with 1. McHugh's take, Hill 2 best hill. Agreed. Thank you, McHugh. I do. Hill 1 does have a special place in my heart. For the 1 year that I pushed it on race day. But yeah, 2 and 3 definitely the more of the technical hills. I would say 1 is fairly technical, purely for the start and the transition. But Hill 2 is the only hill that goes downhill. All the other hills go uphill. And judging that can be very difficult.
I just realized now that the YouTube chat right now is popping, so if people are not writing in there, you should check it out because there's a lot of stuff going on. I haven't read through all of it now because of that. But last heat, which was CIAA and Siget B. Sophie Halpern was driving Barracuda for Siget B, and she did point out that that's the only race that she's ever been in that she wasn't stressed out about. So just want to throw that out there for people.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's because she expected CIAA to be way in front and stay way in front, but I could be wrong.
So I'm pausing this right here real quick. This guy right here at the bottom of the screen, if memory serves, that's Tim Leonard. He is our advisor for our staff partner with the Alumni Association, and is fucking incredible. Like I've at least worked with I think 3 now, and Tim really deserves the shout out that I'm giving him right now and more. He's been really good. He came from Slice. Yeah. He'd been experienced with Booth beforehand, and then came over to the Alumni Association and be like, Tim's going to be your new staff partner. I'm like, cool. And he's been amazing.
Can confirm. Tim is just absolutely the best.
Yeah. So I wanted to
having not worked with people before that, I will confirm. I will third that Tim is awesome.
Yeah. I will say that going back to the hill complexity discussion that we've been having, 4 is definitely one of the more complex hills as well, because it transitions between a steep incline to a shallow incline, and you got to be able to transition your gait and your pushing style once you make that curve. You sort of have 3 sections, right? You have the steep part, the transition piece, and then the flatter piece where you transition and push off to hill 5.
I want to point out in this heat, I mean, the team in lane 2 is Apex D. I mean, this is Apex's 6th year, 7th year, and they're already at 4 men's and 4 women's teams. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, totally agree.
Also insane, Mary Garrett.
Yeah. She transitions so late too, and still does amazingly well.
Pretty clean right there into hill 2.
Nice shove there, and then there's a pretty big separation here. Fringe B went over the hill a little bit before.
I like all these ranking of hills.
They are releasing now. So we've got.
I have never pushed a hill 4 on race day, but I've pushed a lot of hill 1s and hill 4s, and they're, to me, identical in that they both suck, but hill 1 requires a dead stop.
Right.
Hill 1 on race day just feels better because you're at the spotlight.
Yeah, but like
absolutely.
during rolls, both are just terrible.
Yeah, they feel identical during rolls, especially if you get like non-race day heated hill 3.
Coming up on the chute. Very smooth. Coming through just fine, a little tight.
I want to point out in this heat, I mean, Fringe B is not bad. I mean, they finished. They were the first women's team. I mean, this will be finals. They're a little slower on prelims, but for their finals time, they will be the first team ever. They're the first women's team ever to break 240 and not earn a trophy. And SDC is just crushing them.
Mm-hmm.
This is looking like a very fast time, and
I mean, they're
really far
20 seconds behind. It's crazy to me how much better SDC is than everyone else in the years when they dominate.
A top 5 team to have an SDCA as someone to chase pushes you faster than you.
I feel like that's a feeling for everybody on the course. They're like, what is going on, and why, and how.
Yes, I mean, much like Ma Bell, SDC, they should just break up SDC.
This may be very close to a record. We just crossed that 223 mark, and it's going to be a 225.
225.
Well, if it's any consolation, if they didn't
Holy
have last
crap.
year's roll, that would have been a course record.
Yeah, a disappointing 225 because they're 2 seconds slower than last year.
Right.
Inferno looks really good. Fringe B coming up here. They're going to be at a 243.34. That's a very nice time for them.
What was their A-team time?
Their A-team was a 237.
So their A and B are pretty close together there.
Yeah, that's going to put them in.
So I'm pretty sure, since there's the chat is still talking about hills, I'm pretty sure I only got hill 2 because I did it for nearly every buggy at rolls when I was a student. because I ran our top of hill coordination. And I feel like that was how we ran it for a while until we realized that it helps to be fast on hill 2 to make it for a good push off as well.
Really impressive and great to see, what they've done.
Yeah, I mean, to go from
I only ever pushed. No, that's not true. I pushed half of Hill 5 once. Not on a race day. I think it was a roll. I think someone was doing something, so I'm like, yeah, I'll finish this for you. So I did that. But I've only ever pushed Hill 3, and I am not equipped to push Hill 3. Like, without a doubt, that is not my hill. I think the reason I kept getting it, and by kept getting it, I mean like the 2 or 3 times that I pushed something, because it was the quote-unquote shortest hill. But again, it's only the shortest hill if you have a fast enough buggy to make it short. Otherwise, it's just brutal.
Yeah, and we've gotten into the men's heats now.
We're almost stumbling there.
Yeah, and I guess we missed the intro. We don't have any words. So looking back, I'm pretty sure I didn't cut this one because there was a fade, and I'm too lazy to do that. So somebody, Connor, is this one that you cut together and sent to me? Because I know you did that one of the years.
One of those interesting things to see.
So this is the
too, right?
This is the obviously first men's heat now. Obviously, Inferno was the final women's heat of the day. Apex C rolling an Ember. And you can see Sigep D with Beyonce in the back moving out to pass. And easily passing. Like, something has clearly gone wrong with Ember here. Which is not the first time that's been said. Probably not the last time that'll be said. I'm assuming it's brakes rubbing because it's basically coming to a stop.
Yeah.
And I think Connor has mentioned in the past the trickiness of Ember's brakes.
I like to think that Ember slowed down because the Queen has to go first.
I mean, that's also possible, but it slowed down a little too much because, as we pointed out, Apex's D team will beat their C team. So that is one potential ranked DQ. Though I think this one falls under one of McHugh's points where there's plenty of ways that a C team can be beat by a D team that is unintentional, and I think this is a perfect example of that.
No, but on the flip side of that, is it then the responsibility of the mechanics and the team itself to make sure they have a functional buggy for race day?
Yeah.
I don't think you're wrong.
But that's not a reason to DQ the team. They're already doing bad. You don't need to DQ them for doing bad.
I mean, if your buggy has a mechanical failure to that point, does DQ even matter? Their time won't make day 2. Like, I just don't think... Like, I think it's important for teams that are competing, but for a time that's going to be almost 3 minutes, it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
I
they're
get
going to be
that
disappointed.
frame, but then it's just like, there's the DQing is a more strict penalty or more of an incentive to make sure that your buggy works for race day than just like, oh, you had a bad time, but nothing like actually happened.
I do want to point out the irony in that heat of Ember's brakes, not at all working or rubbing the entire time, because the other buggy in that heat was Sigep's Beyonce, and as we all know, Sigep and Drops is a fun pairing. Beyonce, doesn't like to stop because she's Beyonce, and she decided not to stop during drop heat, and they were DQ'd. Connor also with a very hot take, which is that Apex C team, if not for the mechanical failure of Ember, would have also beaten Apex A.
And they're rolling in bumper, just as we had discussed.
Hey y'all, I've joined the chat. How's it going?
Hey Connor.
All right, so I need to reply to this because Andrea obviously is taking some hot takes here.
Good job to start chaos.
Yeah, so anyway, Ember rolled earlier in the day.
Buggy is a hot take.
And had no problems.
Being a chair and then also being on the push team is a tough.
We then put it together, put it out on the hill, and rolled it. And for some reason, the brakes were rubbing. Nothing changed. Same wheels, doesn't matter. In some cases, shit happens. So to say just like blanket that Apex doesn't take care of their buggies, doesn't look after their drivers, doesn't make sure it's safe, is just false.
But yeah, obviously that's not what I was trying to insinuate there, but
All right, we're got the buggies on the course, so we're going to be underway.
I do want to quickly point out here, if you pay attention, getting back to the 5-second DQ, Fidelt is about to be 5-second DQ'd here as well. And this one, I don't know. I feel bad. Like, they got 5-second DQ'd both on men's and women's, and the women's one, yeah. But, like, I don't know. The guy in jeans just was wearing jeans, so he couldn't get off the course in time. I'm also convinced that Fidelt wasn't in front of the starting line, but that's not what they were DQ'd for.
Yeah, I was about to say, it looks like they were over the line.
Side note, Hunter's about to drop a second from his last year's Hill 1. Is it due to bumper or Hunter getting faster? Who's to say?
I'm pretty sure it's due to bumper.
Small
Bumper
wheels.
had a lot of our Hill 1s.
But it looks like he's recovered well. And Brevin, a deep push to get into
Our
the free
18
roll there. Both squads.
Our women's A Hill 1 wanted to push bumper because it dropped her a second on Hill 1.
I mean, that's the impact of small wheels, right? Makes pushing a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just watch the free roll. Even against Argo, you see it.
3/4 of a second off there. They're zooming through the.
Also, I feel like something may have happened with Argo in the back because in an earlier shot, it almost looked like the follow car was alongside the buggy instead of behind it. And I don't feel like the follow car would normally do that.
Again, direct quote from Peter, who was their head mechanic this year. Argo has hexagonal wheels, and that's just what they do.
I'd give that like an A-.
Can't they get better wheels?
You would think.
Or at least round wheels. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that because DTD did that back with Bethany way back when. And they just didn't. I guess Pioneers did a thing where they made wheels that weren't. They used wheels that weren't a normal size, and I guess that screws things up. Just pick a standard size, then you have so many more options. Though someone mentioned before, someone had asked in the chat if bumper had small wheels and was worse, why is it that Pika has rolled on small wheels for years and been better? I am a little curious, like, what if Pika put regular size wheels? Would they be faster? I mean, I guess they've done.
That's been the
They
question
did.
I've been asking for years. Every time that we have a discussion about why
Didn't
we're not
they-
winning, why are
didn't
we
they
not
once
using the
roll
same
with-
size wheels as everyone else? It's a good question. No
Didn't
one
they
can
roll
answer
with
it.
big wheels once and we saw them speed up a ton?
For their final score.
You know,
They did.
It's
They
a question
did.
that has been
At
asked by
Rolls.
many people.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there was a year. I mean, I don't remember the times and I don't remember the year, but there was a year when they rolled on bigger wheels, and it was a hot topic.
We rolled on larger wheels in 2019, and then that was the closest to winning we've been since we switched to the small wheels. So it's an interesting debate that many people named Willie Clark have been having with the leadership. But I don't know anything about wheels. I've always been of the opinion that if everyone else is doing something and we're different and we're significantly slower, maybe they know something that we don't.
There was definitely one weekend when Pike rolled on small wheel or on big wheels, and they had higher free roll speeds, and we took that as a C. We were right.
So as I understand it, most of Pike's experience has come from the Ultimate Speed Challenge, or their realizations have come from the Ultimate Speed Challenge, which no longer exists. First of all, no longer does anything because the competition became bad for other reasons. You can talk to Mark Hestes about that one. He has a lot of words to say about that. But also, it only tests one direction and one aspect of it. That's just my understanding.
I think you're right. So this heat, obviously, this is Apex A. This is the men's soccer team. These are 5 members of the soccer team. I confirmed that when I went through this roster and then pulled up the 2018 men's soccer team roster. I'm a little curious, and maybe Connor knows this, but was it basically just a guess that soccer would be faster than Ultimate Frisbee, or did they have times and decided that this was the right mix for A? Also, SDCD keeps up really well with Apex A, like shockingly well for a D team.
Apex A maintaining about their starting positions right here. Apex A finally making a little bit of a separation.
I think SD is even anticipated on the broadcast that there might be 2 passes because he expected Apex to be in front and then Vice to be the faster Buggy. It turns out he was wrong, but I think that it also started out closer than he would have expected.
SDC goes through the bumps.
Watch.
That may have cost him a little bit of speed there.
Apex A good 3/4 of a second off the pace set by Fringe B. They were 18.46 was their hill 1 time, so not really super fast relative for an 18.
I love the fact that Andy's able to like pull those numbers out because he has a stopwatch that he's using to time. It would be really fun to have more comprehensive timing that the broadcasters could talk back to, but we just don't have the manpower to make it happen, or the technology for that matter at this point.
All right, upper transition flag with Buggy still holding roughly the same position.
All right, so apparently Connor was the wrong person to direct that to. Andre was the correct person. And Andre is saying that Frisbee was out every weekend, so we only had times for individual hills from push practice. But if Frisbee was out every weekend and soccer wasn't, wouldn't it make more sense that Frisbee would be the A team? I'm also a little curious on that hill 5, on that hill 3 pickup, if the SDC pusher thought that Azula was his Buggy. Like, I think there were other ones in the past that have been clear mistakes. That one may have just been that the 2 buggies were close together, but I'm also not sure.
Getting a little bit more distance for himself there as they get that transition from 4 to 5.
I think this might be Phil on Hill 5. Yeah, that looks like Phil. He has a ridiculous beep test score. The man can run, like, I think all the way through level, like, 22 or 23, and then the coaches stop him because it's just absurd that he's still running.
Interesting to see exactly what happens when Buggies get out.
Do you want to explain what that means to people who are unfamiliar?
Yes, sorry. The beep test, if you'll harken back on, like, elementary school, is very similar to the pacer test, the fitnessgram pacer, where it's 20 meters, up and back, beeps time your laps, and it gets progressively faster through a number of levels. In order to be able to compete within the athletics department, you have to pass a certain number on the test to prove that you're less likely to get injured or something. But then some people like to go above and beyond, and one of those people is Phil. He like doubles the number necessary for men's soccer players.
That sounds about right.
That's insane.
So to point out in the chat here, Kevin DeSantis says that the SDCD Hill 2 pusher dislocated his shoulder on that final push.
Wait, what?
Holy shit.
That's crazy. That's dedication.
Was it something that happens regularly? Like he just dislocates his shoulder doing whatever? He grabs a jar out of the fridge and dislocates his shoulder and just pops it back in?
Hill 3, Mitchell, Reek. Hill 4, Nikhil, Swamathian.
That's crazy. Oh. We have a view. I'm gonna see. Oh, we lost it. I'm gonna jump back real quick because I have.
Yeah, go for it. Andre in the chat is clarifying that when he said they were out every weekend, he did not mean they were at rolls every weekend. He meant they were out at tournaments every weekend, so they didn't come out to practice.
That makes more sense.
Would be B.
I just want to point out, if I remember right, this is a Vincent Zhang, who was one of the CIA chairs prior to me, and also one of the last Pioneers chairs. She swapped teams for her senior year, and if I remember correctly, this is Carrie's push bar, or one of Carrie's push bars that didn't get installed, that she carries with her all over the place.
The clarification on the shoulder is that it never happened to him before, and you can actually see him pop it back in the video.
Really? Well, we'll be going back to that later.
Yes.
Somebody write it down.
We've got another superhero-ish guy pushing for Fringe D on Hill 1 based on, I mean, I guess lightning
just wore lightning bolts for Bolt.
I mean, were they special shirts for Fringe D that year?
They were.
I think we did it the year before too. We just like asked for black shirts wherever we could get them, and then I think I had yellow duct tape lying around. So
Also,
lightning bolts.
Also, the I don't know, the uniform on the Hill 1 pusher here for Sig Ep, like that's a solid Hawaiian shirt, Hawaiian shorts mix.
Are they all wearing Hawaiian shirts? Is that?
They were just trying to
that's
copy
a B
me.
team. Goodness.
I can't tell. I mean, the Hill.
No, those were definitely Hawaiian shirts. But
Hill 1 was pretty obvious. Hill 2 just looked more like a button down that wasn't tucked in.
Now this is fun. This is Sarah Connor's first race, who is she's currently the driver for Blind Faith.
Awesome.
In this free roll on these back hills.
She was also the one who was doing the
1 minute, pretty much exactly.
The Buggy cartoons.
That's a great time for a BT.
Yes. Okay, so Sophie is pointing out here. She is driving Barracuda up front and pointing out two things. One is that she should have vetoed the Hawaiian shirts, but I disagree because the Hawaiian shirts are awesome. Two, she's noting that Barracuda's brakes are rubbing, which makes sense because it does seem to be losing a lot of speed, and Bolt is gaining pretty quickly. This is the other example, the non-Apex example of a potential rank DQ from 2018, as Sigep C actually finishes faster than Sigep B's time is. Yeah, they are all Hawaiian shirts. Look at that. I don't know. I think it's solid. I think it's a little weird for a B team to do it, but otherwise, I'm in favor.
If any teams are looking to recreate this look, I have enough for I think 2 or 3 teams of Hawaiian shirts.
Also, I'm not sure about the 4-5 transition for Sigep B. I mean, it's probably not I guess it depends on how the interference rules are written, because as he comes off the course, I mean, he doesn't get in the way of the buggy. He does force the Fringe Hill 5 pusher as he's preparing to pick up the buggy to kind of go around him. But they were not DQ'd for interference. It's just I don't know. I don't know if it was ever even really discussed, or if because neither of them were going to make day 2, it's like it doesn't really matter.
Connor O'Kelly, Hill 3, Arya Herzakani, Hill 4, Jeff Zhao, and Hill 5, Davey Hiles. And then in lane 1, we have CIAB. Hill 1, Joseph Pickens like chickens.
Pickens like chickens.
Julian Trulier. Hill
Love
3,
that.
Reed Long. Hill 4, Dylan Tom. And Hill 5, Brandon Jin. Their driver, Rachel Motz, and they're in Emperor.
This is, again, this is SAE with Eileen, and it's interesting because Josio pointed out that the SAE's buggy is both particularly clean and like a very unique design. But if you ask me, like, it's got the little bump on the top that kind of looks like the Equinox Icarus sort of style. Also, this is Brian Backus's last year, and he destroys CIA up the front hills. I mean,
If I was to guess, they included that bump because of the reason they made that buggy was they had the weird helmet issue where their driver and the driver's helmet didn't fit in the buggy. I think they were overcompensating with that little bump.
So they made it so to give clearance. It's not a terrible idea.
And with the big wheels like that, it takes them a little longer to get up to speed.
I mean, personally, I'm always in favor of building a buggy that is slightly larger so that you have more driver options down the road. But I realize that teams that are looking to win may not agree with that.
This I just want to point out, this race was incredibly vindicating for me because we told them we would pass them in the chute, and SAE's chair was like, "Oh no, our buggy's pretty fast." It's like, no.
So it's a smooth, clean pass, but because SAE had to swerve and the driver Larry's had to get out of his line slightly, SAE was granted a reroll for this. Now it gets a little weird because SAE and was it SIGEP C? I think SIGEP C was the other. No, it wasn't SIGEP C. It was, I don't know. We'll see it at some point. SAE and one other team both were granted rerolls for the men's heats, but they actually had times that would have qualified for day 2. Now SAE probably doesn't care. Maybe
I think
it
it's
was
Apex A.
Yeah, all
I
right.
might be remembering wrong.
No, I don't think it was Apex. No, it was Apex B. It was Apex B because by taking the reroll, Apex A was able to make it into second race day because Apex A was 11th. But if Apex B took the reroll, then Apex A would move up to 10th, so they would both make second race day. But then SAE didn't really have an incentive to take the reroll. They could have just taken their time. It had gotten but they asked for a reroll. It was granted. So SIGEP C had made second race day as the 12th place team. Basically, when they got the chairmans, they did a whole bunch of discussion over the heat selections for chairmans that we'll talk about a little bit more, I have a feeling. And after they did that, I think they suddenly realized that SAE didn't actually need to take that neither SAE nor Apex needed to take their reroll. Like they could have taken the original time, but because SIGEP C's pushers were already told that they were in, and SIGEP was super excited about that, and they had already put all this time and effort into figuring out the right heats, because a whole bunch of A teams get DQ'd or earn DNFs here on day 1, and all the times were kind of screwy for day 2. They put so much time and effort into it that they just said, screw it, we'll take the reroll. That way they didn't have to redo all of the work that they had just done. Which was very sporting of SAE, if you ask me. And didn't necessarily work out in their favor because what just happened to them in that roll will happen again to them in the reroll on day 2.
I think Hill 3 is wearing some Armani.
Hill 2 might be a little Goodwill, hard to tell. There was no Pika B last year, am I correct, because of the rules about team increase? I think there wasn't. So we don't have a time to compare them to.
I have not. I haven't heard the actual commentary, so I don't know when it started here. But did we have Bordick talking about the suit stylings at all?
There's a really great picture of that's Lewis Plottle here, pushing this buggy.
Because Bordick just he did his like runway announcements where it was Hill 1 was pushing Calvin Klein, Hill 2 is Jones in New York, Hill 3 is Armani. Will then pointing out that Hill 2 might actually be wearing Goodwill. Which was pretty funny.
Very smooth by them.
I didn't hear it in the broadcast. It may have been before the cut on this one.
Yeah, I have a timestamp, but I don't know when we actually started. So it was funny though, and you might hear it in my best of the broadcasters video that I do eventually.
I'm looking forward to that. That should be a lot of fun.
I mean, I am too, and maybe this time next year I will have actually gotten around. We'll see.
I still have some videos from Virtual Raceday I want to re-edit, so that'll last a while.
Yeah, I figure once the History Buggy series is done, I'm gonna sit here thinking like, oh man, I've got all this time now. Now that I don't have to spend. I mean, for those of you who don't know, I mean, I am putting way too much work into this, and like I'm writing way too much
Wait,
because
wait,
no
wait.
one wants.
Okay, wait. Hang on. Sorry. I gotta jump back because I was paying attention to the CIA Hill 3 pusher. So here he comes out. He's getting ready to go. He's like, oh, I'm a little too early. No, wait. No. Oh, there it is. Let's go. Okay, we made it. Still get burned. Sorry, that was a lot of fun.
He was nowhere near that, Buggy.
No. It was too early and then too late. He hit both.
Really making some separation there for Pike.
Hill 4 is really the separation hill. That one's tough to do.
Pike could be putting up a solid time.
Oh, absolutely.
Here we are now, 4-2-5.
The chapter of the year, man.
And to remind you, that was on cold wheels that weren't allowed to be heated.
Oh yeah, for those of you who missed it earlier, if you're just joining us now, because of the circumstances around Pika qualifying for this, getting most of their rolls on truck weekend, they were allowed to roll on the condition that they were not allowed to heat or treat their wheels on day one. They were allowed to at least heat it on day two, but day one was cold wheels, which all the more impressive that they clocked in at 220-ish.
Yeah. Reed, that being his first L ever, not surprising. Not as surprising in the least. That makes far too much sense. Oh, and this was our guest commentator. McHugh, I believe you were the other one to win one of these guest commentator spots in our auction. Michael Doherty, who jumped in for the race.
The other KDR safety chair.
Oh, was it really? I missed that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Oh, and our banner is slowly getting sadder and sadder on the back.
And in lane 1, we're going to have Fringe A. Hill 1, John Benassi. Hill 2, Dave.
Yeah, so Michael Doherty's in the booth here because he was we auctioned off a commentator spot this year.
Yeah.
And he was the auction winner.
It did fine.
I felt a little bad for him because I feel like Bordick kept trying to put him on the spot. I think Bordick was just trying to make sure that he got his money's worth and was able to participate. But I don't know. From listening to it, sometimes I felt like he was just being put on the spot a lot of times.
I mean, it's also Bordick, so who knows?
Right, which is why I couldn't really tell.
I won that auction, and I get to comment on Blind Faith driving off the course, which was difficult to prepare for.
What was it? Both women's? I actually kind of forget how we structured that. Was it one for finals and one for prelims or something like that, or one for men's and one for women's? Both prelims.
I think you got to pick your heat.
Okay, so it was,
for 2018, it was we just auctioned off commentator for a heat. It was a prelim seat, but it was just commentator for a heat.
Oh, I see. Okay.
In 2019, we did a men's and a women's, but no one bid on women's.
Gotcha.
So it ended up just being McHugh and men's.
That's what it was.
And
I forgot that we did that multiple years.
So you're telling me McHugh cursed our Buggy?
I mean,
Yes.
no, because he was uninvolved in the plastic bag, but that's a.
How do you know?
Not there snidely
Correct me if
whiplash,
I'm wrong
throwing
here.
Jekyll bags. all over the
But
course.
was this the Fringe race that was DQ'd for spot safety on a mouth guard?
I'm gonna pivot.
Yes, it was.
This is the fastest Fringe men's time in the last 4 years.
However, it was also the DQ heat.
Yikes.
Pretty tragic.
Yeah, so Fringe became the first of 3 consecutive A-teams. Nope, I lied. The first of 3 of 4 consecutive A-teams. That doesn't really work. Fringe was one of 3 A-teams to not make it to day 2, even with a day 2 time, because of a DQ. This one that you will not see. I mean, if there's a story that you guys would like to share about the mouth guard, didn't think so.
There is no story.
But yes,
Yeah, I'm not sharing anything.
that's fair. Fringe A was DQ'd for a spot safety violation for the lack of a mouth guard.
I feel like if I'm the driver, I just say I accidentally swallowed it, Hope for the best.
No, then the safety chair has to wait until you pass it, and then check to make sure it's there.
That at least gives you some time, right?
Time for some new rules.
Yeah, I mean, look, you could then go back home, swallow a mouth guard, and then just.
So gross. Why did I say that?
Also, it would be really hard to swallow a mouth guard, I think.
It would be hard to
tried
do.
saying that it was clear.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to take this to the Olympic level and have somebody following them around and watch them shit until it comes out.
Is that a thing people do in the Olympics?
Yeah, that's how they do drug tests. They watch you pee.
Oh, I thought you meant as a
very
sport.
different. That's very different than shitting out a mouth guard.
I agree that it's very different, but that would be the Olympic level. If we really want to elevate the sport, you know.
Yeah.
Although, like Bobby pointed out earlier in weird words, we don't drug test our pushers.
Thank goodness.
Wouldn't expect too much of a race here, but
For multiple reasons, yeah.
And mechanics and chairman.
Oh, drug testing mechanics would go very poorly for some teams.
Wait for Andrew's hot take of like, it'll teach them a lesson. Rules are rules.
Well, they're not currently.
Well, I mean, there's federal law, but besides that,
Well, we have amnesty, right? It supersedes federal law, apparently.
that's true. You can take as many drugs as you want, but you have to take them to the point of being comatose so we can call amnesty on you.
Make sure to shove them in front of the police and be like, he's your problem now. We have nothing to do with this. Ah, Malice.
Imagine that Malice will be getting some distance there. It's wild talking about Malice in something other than the last heat of the day.
But still, it's that Buggy's been rolling.
McHugh's proud mechanical keyboard clacking away.
It's a MacBook Air.
No. So that's a mic issue then, yeah, okay.
They're AirPods. It's a whole setup.
I can relate, except minus the Apple part. It is a whole setup.
Yeah, every Friday, I think I'm gonna do like a whole day's worth of work, and then I have like a separate laptop, and then this pops up on it, and then within an hour, I find myself talking to a bunch of strangers on the internet about Buggy.
Strangers? Hey, come on now.
Well, there must be at least one stranger in this chat room.
To who? Well, maybe.
To me.
I'd be very surprised if there was an org or group that McHugh was not in.
In is pushing it.
Yeah.
By in I mean like in a group chat.
CIA wouldn't let me.
Yeah, I don't think you're in a CIA one. I don't know. We don't have that many of them, but
Yeah, but I'm sure McHugh's been kicked out of one before.
Tracking right here, just cross over 210, hand on the push bar, 212.
To get B here coming in with a 212.
That's a really nice time.
For a B team, that's not bad.
But
that's gonna be right up there.
very good time. And just as a reminder, SIGEP C with that 223 actually makes it to second race day. They did help to do it, but then I don't know, and maybe Sophie knows, but if the C team was replaced by the B team pushers on day 2, or if the C team was allowed to roll anyway, because the B team obviously did not make it. Although the B team may not have been the alternates for the C team, so I take it back because they were probably alternates ready.
Oh, that banner getting sadder and sadder. Go ahead, talk away.
So, if I saw it right, this is Spirit A, Apex thing, and Fringe C. So when we get through like the transition-ish, I'm on Hill 4 and I hear people yelling. I think, oh, it's a close race. And then after our race is done, I see people looking kind of gloomy. And I just assume it's because I transition violationed, because that's what I was worried about after I finished. I thought I was close. And then I looked at videos after, and I think I was close. You're about to see why I was wrong.
I do want to quickly mention what someone in the chat way back when had brought up. It was probably Connor, because I think he was here then and would know this, but it could have been someone else. So again, Apex B is B with quotation marks around it because it's actually a fast team. This is the Ultimate Frisbee team. And as I noted before, there is a professional Ultimate Frisbee team, in Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Thunderbirds. They play in the AUDL, which is the I used to know what that stood for. The American Ultimate something something. I don't know.
American Ultimate Disc League.
Yeah.
Ultimate Disc League. There you go. The Hill 3 pusher for Apex B, Ryan Hoffman, is actually on that team currently. He is number 64.
That's awesome.
I don't have stats for him yet. I'm not sure when this page was last updated or when they last played a game, obviously. But he is the Hill 3 pusher is actually a professional Ultimate Frisbee player now.
Kevin Wang just said Jasper is as well. Jasper pushes one.
Able to get the shove right there. It looked like Apex may have had the better of the shove and just trying to get around.
I asked this in the chat, but is this the Apex record, or is that happen on day 2?
Day 2.
Okay.
This one
I think
involves
this one gets slowed down a little. So, as a teaser, this is Helen Kim again.
Yeah, you'll notice Boson is the fastest of the 3 buggies here. And that is about to play a pretty significant role. Just watch the back buggies.
Yeah, Spirit's a really interesting. Ooh,
back.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Forgot about that. Spirit's a really interesting case because their buggies tend to not be terribly fast down the hill, but they're almost always the first over the hill. Like, they actively stack their front hills to get over the hill fast, to get ahead of people and slow others down. Which sort of what prompted my post, or my opinion yesterday in the chat, that led to a really fun long discussion. I enjoyed it quite a lot.
You know, I'm often a little curious about the driver's decisions at these points. So where that collision happens, the reason it happens is because Helen Kim in Boson went wide at the stop sign to try and pass Firefly, but that puts you in a bind as you approach the transition flags, because the other buggy, not knowing you're there, is going to take its normal line, which is going to squeeze Fringe between the curb and the buggy. So her only option there from taking that wide angle was to swing out, which then causes contact. I'm curious if there are drivers, like, I mean, I don't know how far you think ahead when you're thinking, when you're thinking about passing. Is it, I'm going to pass now, so let me move now, or is it like, all right, I'm going to pass. If I try to pass now, it will be at the transition flag, so let me wait until I'm a little clearer and then swing to the other side so that you'd be opposite the curb when you got to the transition flag. I don't know, but it's something that I have thought about.
So Dia posted, and Tisha has confirmed that was the case. She thought the driver in Boson thought that she had passed Firefly by the time she'd cut over. So she had. Oh, right.
Yeah. This
Sorry.
This is what Helen told us after the fact.
Right.
She said she thought she had already passed Firefly and she saw the curb coming up on the left. So this is exactly, I think, the situation that Ben was referring to when he said the 170-degree range of vision would help, is to know if she had actually definitively passed or not.
One of those situations, but yeah, that is the simplest case of where having a wider range of vision makes sense for both buggies, because then the buggy that has passed also knows that they've been passed. Whereas in that situation, neither driver had any chance of knowing the position of the other.
I don't know if you saw, but the wind.
I do want to point out 2 quick things. One, you saw a barricade in the middle of the road and then picking it up, the wind suddenly picked up and like was blowing hard and actually blew one of the barricades into the chute.
Yeah.
Between heats, that's what was going on there. The other thing, so the last heat, Fringe C ended up DQ'd for causing the contact. Apex B granted a reroll, though as I noted before, the time actually was enough to make it to day 2, but they took the reroll. The third team, or the winning team of that heat, Spirit A, with Kingpin, Kingpin failed drops, so Spirit A was DQ'd, the second A team to be DQ'd on the day.
All teams blasting off at the front right here. SDCC, pretty impressive.
And I think Jeremy pointed out before that Avarice likes to beat A teams. It doesn't quite do the trick this time.
She does tend to be very competitive with A teams.
SDC making their transition as well. Sigap maybe 2 buggy lengths ahead. Then they're off.
I don't know, driving buggies is hard. Yes, driving buggies is absolutely hard.
I think it was probably one of the worst of the day.
I've never done it, but I've worked with enough to know
And
it is not straightforward.
Looking at hung back, I don't think they got everything they could have out of that. Agreed.
They are rolling.
Tisha, yeah,
I'd like to mention that
the contact was right at the transition flag, the first flag. Go ahead.
I'd like to mention that Andrea had to leave to get on a call with her mom, but texted me, and now we have a whole side argument about rank TQ, like in a iMessage window.
Good, that's important. I'm happy for
Yeah, no, it's ongoing. Yeah.
Good to keep that going, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I do want to point out that with all the debate over the rank DQ, the only time in buggy history that a team has actually been DQ'd for rank, as Avarice spins here, was McHugh's year.
I know, that's why I hate it so much. I'm atoning for past sins. You guys should all be on the right side of history. This is a stupid rule.
I mean, but is it even really a rule if it's never been enforced other than the year that you did it?
That's what I'm saying. Then they made it, then they codified it after that. Like, they took the worst thing that nobody likes, and then they decided to institutionalize it, and that's not good to have done.
Her turn was ragged and just kept getting worse, and then she definitely overcooked it there. And pretty classic trike kind of slide.
I'm glad all the engagement is strong. That's all I'm looking at this point. Keep it going as far as I care.
Yeah, I will. I will for well past the point of it being productive. Don't worry.
And what else is Buggy good for if working past the point of being productive?
Yeah, here, there's like a part of your brain, not yours, but like the Buggy brain that exists. That's like I love to know rules and find weird loopholes in rules. And I remember this vividly because I remember talking to like a Sig New or something in like 2005 when I was chairman, and they came up and they were like, well, you see, if we like did such and such, blah 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 can get DQ'd, and then like X, Y, and Z could also get DQ'd if we use the rules like this. And it seems so alien to me because the answer to their problem was that they should go faster and not that they should make or use more rules. You know what I mean? Like, it's a weird part of the brain that like deals with theory craft of Buggy, and it sucks when it like results in less participation, which I guess is my
and that's why Tom is so looked back on as so important to when they expanded the rules, because he was the one there being like, okay, if you do that, then I can do this. They're like, well, we don't want you to be able to do that. It's like, yeah, I know you don't want to be able to, but currently you can do that.
No, I mean, like that. It's totally important that somebody has done it when you write the rule, but that's also where you get things like the derivative on the curve of the nose can't be undefined at any point, or you need an infinitely stiff rod to like do whatever, or you start to like get these like completely apocryphal rules, like the pen test is stabbing somebody with a pen. Like, it's short for penetration, it doesn't mean that, and it's not that in a rule, but then you have these safety chairs for a decade later going and stabbing, shells with a pen.
Hate to switch gears here, but this race is the one that was causing a lot of contention in the history of Buggy P, so I just wanted to speak to it.
Hold on, Ben. Can you rewind this?
Yeah. Go ahead, Willie.
Just because
heat selection.
Yeah, McHugh was complaining over an important heat. So yeah.
During heat selection, we were trying to find a good spot for the Spirit team to go, and there was really no good heat. And so we all agreed that this was going to be a really close heat. They said they thought their Hill 1 could go even a little bit faster than what his time was, and he ended up doing that. And so I was on this course walk before, and we stood together at the top of the hill, and basically with Josio said, okay, whoever gets over the hill first, it's going to be really, really, really close. So if you get over the hill first, keep your line, and if you get over the hill second, just brake and take the reroll. Like, there's going to be a crash if you both try to go at full speed. So the reroll is there, take it. And both drivers, both teams were both very clear on that. I remember me and Matt Swain had a long conversation about what would happen there. And I don't think it was an issue until the next day there was a conversation between our B team driver, who again had been driving for a couple weekends, about her race. And she had made a comment about trying to stay in front during her shoot turn and not crash during the turn. And that somehow got back to that our drivers were trying to cut people off, and this was a problem in our Spirit heat too. But I don't think, especially a driver like Victoria, who was very, very strong, had been in tight races for 3 years, she did a great job in this heat, and I think we were really clear on exactly what was the process if these races clear.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, it sounds like this was a lot of miscommunication, basically, where your B team driver was saying that she was trying to stay in front in the shoot, and that got interpreted as she was trying to cut off the other driver.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because we ended up, because the Spirit kids immediately came back to me and said, hey, we just heard that this is what your B team driver said, and we just want to know if that was your plan for our race too. We were pretty clear about it. We went and talked to her. She was like, this was what I meant. Or Taylor, our B team driver, when we talked to us, like, this is what I meant when I said that. I didn't realize it would be interpreted that way. I don't even think she knew what she was doing wrong. But I think both Taylor and Victoria did a really good job, so I'm not really sure. I just wanted to, reading the history of Buggy piece, I wanted to come in and defend our drivers. I think they both did a really good job in really tough heats.
I think that's perfectly fair. I will make some revisions to that to make that a little clearer, because I didn't mean to suggest that the drivers were doing things that were.
No, absolutely not. I think you do a tremendous job with history of Buggy, and I think it's very easy to make that comment. I see Sophie just said non-drivers can't influence drivers that much. I can't speak to what being a driver is like. I can only echo the things that we talked about after the heat. But I know that this was something we spent a lot of time focusing on, was making sure that this specific heat was safe.
The continued decline of the backdrop, the banner in the back.
Hill 2, Kevin Wang. Hill 3, Adolfo Victoria. Hill 3, Chuck Lee. And Hill 5, Eric.
But yeah, that one was so obviously Spirit B got a reroll on Saturday for that. I don't know. Again, the A team was DQ'd, but I don't know if it's a reroll from day one, if you're allowed to substitute an A team in.
And Hill 5, Brandon Foster. Their driver, Annie Black, who holds both the men's and women's records.
I think it depends on.
Say that again?
It depends on what happens with our A team, which I.
So are you saying that because Spirit A was DQ'd, could they put their A pushers on their B buggy?
For Saturday, yes.
Yeah, so what actually happened there was you could have, if you made your B team alternates your A team, but unfortunately their push captain had their A team alternates be their B team alternates be their C team, and their C team alternates be, I forget who. But they didn't even, I think there was this miscommunication, they entered it wrong, but they couldn't move their A team pushers, their B team buggy, because of just an issue with filing the roster. So that was a really tough situation for them.
Interesting.
Before we get there, I want to draw attention to the 1-2 transition here. It's probably the most beautiful one I've ever seen.
There's always one, 15.5
Very beautiful.
That really is perfect, isn't it?
It helps when they shove it and they don't have to go through the hill anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are really great front hills. I remember we had the option to heat select a different heat here, but we chose to go with SDCA because we knew they would beat us very cleanly up the hills, and we wouldn't have to do any passing or anything, which was not something that was true of pretty much all the other heats.
I don't know if you saw Boy Out There Hill 2 just like going really far down, and I've never seen anyone go that far.
Sigep goes real far down pretty frequently. I will say that.
I mean, like after his push, he just kept flying.
Like actually down the road as opposed to off onto the grass or around.
He went off to the right, but like,
yeah,
it was still ridiculously fast.
Yeah, he had a lot of energy to burn off. I will say that Bobby, that is not the first time that decision has been made like that. We've definitely chosen to go up against SDCA, knowing that we would lose, and knowing that they would be an excellent mark to follow and get ourselves going quicker.
That's the other problem with SDC being so much better than everyone else in the years when they dominate, because all the other good teams want to be with them because they know it'll A, push you faster, but B, there won't be any issues with passing or collisions or anything. But you'd think maybe this would have been a good place for Spirit B to go. Like if
I can't remember this guy's name, but this is what I was referencing when I said sunglasses make you faster.
Brandon Foster.
So Spirit B had actually requested to switch with CIAA for that reason in heat selection. I don't remember why we didn't.
I don't remember if it was a switch or if they asked to be in the third lane spot there, and we knew that there was an issue with the over the hill with them with CIA.
Yeah.
I mean, plus if they switched, it would have been CIA against Pika, and we all know how that ends.
Right, exactly. I don't think we need more CIA Pika drama.
Same buggies too.
So we are now in Saturday exhibitions. We've actually missed the first. So we've missed the Robo Buggy timing heat. We've also missed the first actual exhibition, which was a driver's heat. I will say that at the end of this, we do have to go back and watch that one fringe thing SDC thing that I can't remember what it was, but it was in the women's heats. But after that, it may be worth jumping over to the live stream file to see if we can watch the driver's heats, because it's kind of fun to watch two actual sets of drivers go up against each other.
There's also a sweepstakes heat.
Yes,
yeah.
but that one we will actually see. That is coming next.
Also, you have Camilla on the broadcast right now, joining in.
Yes, she came in, I mean, mainly to talk about sweepstakes, but also she joined us for the other exhibitions as well.
Mm-hmm.
This one... Oh, I don't have... I guess this is... I'm assuming it's an SDC and Apex Mechanics teams, but I don't actually know.
Especially for an exhibition heat. And I once ran an exhibition heat where we stopped at the stop sign. So
there were some comments, or are going to be some comments, I'm not sure when, of on the broadcast of Connor becoming a student again this year.
Oh, that's right.
No problem at all for Apex.
I'm trying to remember the CMU TV kid who created these views. But he's just graduated now, and he put in a whole bunch of effort into all of those CMU TV visuals and graphics. So like all of the like pusher rosters, whenever you see the pictures to go up, all of those dual screen videos, the side by side with the stop sign, all of that was made by this one kid in the layouts and doing all that sort of stuff. And he really just put in an incredible effort getting that together and having it all built such that he could pull up a new team on the fly, and it would pre-populate with all of the the pusher information as needed. So like if there were any roster changes that we knew about, we could let him know, and he would be able to quickly adjust and pop in a new person. Like he just did a really outstanding job putting everything together for that.
Actually, maybe around a 2:30 based on where the clock is now.
Yeah, it may have been.
No, I'm not
overestimating that.
Also, I'm pretty sure all of the like the headers that you have at the top there, the upper third, I'm pretty sure that all of that has just been saved on the truck that they rent from Viewpoint. And they're just like, hey, does that still exist? Yeah, it's still there. Great, let's use it. Let's focus on some other things. Because you'll notice if you look back several years, the production changed and the look changed. And partially that was just them wanting to come up with a new look. But the other part of that is it wasn't saved. They couldn't save the Chiron information.
Okay. I don't know what I'm talking to Andre about here, but it's probably about Phoenix and me not knowing how heavy it was going to be on Hill 1. It was heavy.
Another quick comment. This was supposed to be, but as you can tell from Aubrey pushing Hill 1, it ended up being more of just a general fringe alumni heat. So don't be deceived by the name.
Yeah, good point. Aubrey was not a 90s pusher.
No, it ended up being half more recent fringe alumni.
Yeah.
So I learned like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago that I was supposed to go slower and let Aubrey catch up, but apparently I went fast so I could beat Aubrey. I think Hunter kept telling me that he was going to beat me up the hill. So I went fast. Admittedly, I was in pajama pants, so I couldn't go that fast.
I mean, it turned out. I mean, the other thing is you're pushing Ember, so there was a decent chance that it was just going to stop during the free roll anyway. But admittedly, winning the battle into the free roll turns out not to have been the right decision. The reason for that, as will become apparent as you reach the back hills, is that the Hill 4 pusher was Jostio, who was safety chair, or who was safety chair.
Yeah.
Lina was head judge.
That's correct.
Yeah. So Lina is pushing Hill 3. She's head judge. Jostio was safety chair, pushing Hill 4. The problem is because he's safety chair, he's also in the follow truck. You will quickly see why that is a problem when you're trying to push the lead buggy soon.
That was actually going to be a problem for us this year. We had planned our sweepstakes exhibition heat, and Tisha was going to be driving. So we were in the process of figuring out how we were going to handle having someone in the follow truck.
Although you wouldn't quite have the same problem, given that you wouldn't be in the lead.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We wouldn't have that problem. But Tisha also couldn't hop out of the buggy, you know.
Oh, for sure.
I just want to point.
We could have not done this, but we cleared it with a whole bunch of people who said like it's technically safe and you can do it, and we really wanted to.
I just have to point out.
Here it comes.
I love Lina's transition there because she transitions to Hill 3. She transitions to Hill 4. Let's go to the buggy, and then kind of looks around for a second, and then just kind of jogs up and grabs it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I missed this until right now, but I think Jostio just took his arm out of his sling.
Oh, it does look that way.
He was in his pocket.
He's just holding on to it.
Oh no.
Yeah, it is not in the sling. I forgot that it was in a
The
sling.
best safety chairs could get seriously injured on race day. Is my opinion.
That was my senior race day.
Tisha says that Jostio volunteered to be safety chair for that heat.
For that heat being in 2018 or in this year, 2020?
In this year, 2020,
Okay,
while
okay.
Tisha was in the buggy, we had Jostio volunteer as our assistant head judge.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Is this
Was that
the
the laptop?
Jostio pickup truck here, right?
Yeah,
our guy.
So, what we usually send stakes to go get the follow truck, lead truck from, I don't even know where the place is, but it's past the tunnel. So on their way back, Theo didn't make it through the tunnel. He got in a little fender bender, setting a great example for drivers everywhere.
I remember I had to get the pickup and take it back the next year, and all I heard from everyone was that I was not allowed to crash it. It was on the very front of everyone's mind.
They are borrowed, yes.
Just to let you know, all these times will be final and will count towards their final day.
So this is the first men's reroll. So there's a total of 4 men's rerolls. 2 of them are rerolls, and then the third is a pseudo finals heat. I guess there's actually a finals men's reroll either that's at the end, but coming up now there are. So this is SDCC. This was the reroll for. Well, they spun out. Why did they get a reroll for that?
They deviated from their line because of the buggy in front of them. Yeah, I also didn't think they should have gotten a reroll for this. They could have braked to a halt like Spirit did, but.
Is that Dave that just said something?
We got a lot of feedback there, but to make
Bobby,
sure
I think there's something
correctly,
wrong with your audio.
Yeah,
like
they
broadcasting
deviated from their line, is what you said, and then it was that you weren't 100% sure that they should have got a reroll versus just coming to a complete stop the way that Spirit did. I think I interpreted that correctly.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yes. So in that's right. In Heat 10 against Sigeb A was in the lead, but Avarice kept gaining and eventually thought about passing once or twice, and then ended up tucking behind her into the chute, but then there's a flag situation, and then did not hit her line when she spun, so she got a reroll for essentially having to deviate.
Always a little tough to be one of these first heats kind of coming out after that break right there. But a big shove into that transition. We're a little bit over.
It turns out that SDC was not a particularly deep team in 2018, so this didn't actually affect placing at all as to them getting the reroll. It did, however, almost make it so that it was a perfectly clean race day, because the crash on Friday gets wiped out by the fact that they got a reroll on Saturday. So we almost had no DNFs until Pika heard about that.
All right, relax.
All right, let's go ahead and introduce the Spirit roster again. I am not positive.
Yes.
If it
I
is
was
fully
confused about why SDC got this reroll as well, because if you're that close, you can break to a stop like Spirit did, and if you try and pass here and you spin out,
So those are fantastic photos, and I'm not sure why I haven't seen them before.
We just take a moment to appreciate Glenn Filan and Steven Scott's photos.
The best part is like the contrast and effort between Glenn and Steven's photos and the ones that couldn't even be bothered to have them.
I also like how obviously photoshopped they are. Like, it still has the background color of, like, it's just a square that's cut out and angled.
Oh yeah, they gotta line up the shoulders, and that's all you need. You can't tell. The timer at 10 hours there. A very long heat.
Yeah, so this is Spirit B's reroll after the breaking in the Pika A heat from men's heat 11 on day 1.
Sorry, it was 10 minutes, not 10 hours.
It might have actually been just a clock.
Well,
like
so
clock.
it was on the 10-minute countdown. It's the same clock that does the countdown between heats, as well as the timing for the race. So whenever they hit the button, it resets. But they can hit another
I guess
not
it's
display
possible.
the
I just
time.
meant why I didn't notice if it was going up or down, but I just meant it could have been an actual time clock. Like, it could be 10 something.
10 a.m. No, we were still in rerolls at that point before women's heats.
tight to that stop sign in about 53 seconds.
Yeah, but I don't remember the order of if men's rerolls came before women's finals.
I'm pretty sure in this year, given how the heats are laid out, they came before. We tend, in most cases, we do things chronologically. Most.
Definitely a trike-like slide.
Definitely not 100% though.
Momentum there, but still cruising coming up here into hill 3.
Good pickup.
Good adjustment given the slide.
Yeah, I agree. He really had to move down. I couldn't see where he was starting.
No, I believe you are incorrect. Men's rerolls was right before men's finals. So based on timestamps I have in my notes, the timestamp
He is a beast.
the timestamp that I have for this reroll is 1 hour 48.10, whereas a women's finals roll I have 58:20. So women's finals was before this roll.
Well, then as usual, I'm full of shit. So no problem.
You might still be right about the clock, though. That doesn't mean that it's
the clock part. I am certain of. I know that never shows an actual clock time because it's not connected to an actual clock.
Here on this hill 5, you can see people gathering around the finish. Hand got to be on the push bar. Hand is 2:18.45.
I guess we need to do some reorganization then.
Let's go ahead and run down the rosters for these two. In lane 2, we're going to have SAE.
That Spirit B time put them in 9th place overall with a 2:17.66.
Bryant Backus. Hill 2, Connor O'Kelly. Hill 3, Arya Herzakani.
Also, they had a shoot speed of 34.5 miles per hour.
And Hill 5,
yeah, that's right. You can see Ben Brown out there taking the speeds.
Which was the 3rd fastest men's time, it looks like, men's speed. Looks like only Inferno and Malice were faster.
All right, guys. This is the Apex record, right?
This is the Apex record, yes. This is 250. Yeah.
This is one of my top 3 heats of all time.
I'm not convinced.
What are the other two?
Actual time clock. It's going up, not down.
Yeah, it's going up. It's counting up to the next heat. And you'll notice when he says go, it'll reset.
But yeah, so this is again the Ultimate Frisbee team in lane 1, and Brian Backus on lane 2. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know if we have. I'm sure we have a time. I can probably find the time on Brian Backus's hill 1s. But I mean, outside of Jacob Hoffman,
17.11 seconds.
I don't know if there's a faster hill 1. But as a result, it once again puts SAE in front, and you can see Firefly has to swing very wide to avoid the patches. But that's not going to be quite enough to stop Firefly from catching up.
Yep.
It's going to delay when that happens.
And so it's wild to think that a team record or org record could be on a race where they had so many obstacles to avoid, like swerving around to pass another buggy, coming off the line, and having to deal with those patches. There you can see Ben Brown taking the times there on the left.
Look at how wide Firefly is here. I mean, that is insanely early of turn.
Yeah, this is an awesome pass. I love this pass.
It is, and I imagine if SAE had requested a reroll from this, it probably should have been granted because they had the same exact issue here that they had.
No way! No way! On what grounds?
Because they had to swing wide to avoid the collision.
You don't get to have a pristine line, right? The rules are not like you get to race unencumbered all the time under all circumstances. Like, you have to take the other buggies into account.
I think what he was trying to say is the exact same thing that gave them this reroll.
It is the exact same thing that gave them this reroll. Like, if you're going to give them this reroll, then they should be getting another one.
I mean, I'm torn because I like this reroll because Apex set a record, but also I think that that's a stupid reason to have a reroll.
I mean, Apex would have gotten this reroll regardless, and then they probably would have set a faster record because they wouldn't have had to deal with passing a Buggy.
I mean, I'm all for that. It's hard to argue against that.
Just goes to show why, if you're doing rerolls, you should reroll one Buggy at a time. Because the whole point of a reroll was there was some issue that you had in the last race. You should at least get one chance.
This is a pretty clean path. I can't see any justification for any kind of reroll from that.
I mean, okay, but did you watch the passive SAE in the prelims race?
Yeah, but I forgot about it.
Their driver is Helen Kim in Bozar. And in lane 1, SDCB. On hill 1, they have Mary St. John. Hill 2, Shannon.
Connor raised an interesting point, which I wasn't going to point out, but they did change from not as good wheels to good wheels.
Presumably the good wheels were on the A team, and they switch them to the B team. It's amazing what happens when you have good wheels.
Yeah.
I don't know that would be true because the A team made finals, so I would think they would have used the same wheel. I would think maybe they just tried a new wheel compound on both teams.
I mean, the wheels we're discussing are behind me, like 10 feet behind me, and they're like, there's enough of them that they're not like radically different. I mean, I think they were running on these ones and then some yellow ones, which were not as good, and then these ones had enough to go on every buggy. Okay, yeah, Connor's here.
There you go.
Yep. Obviously, this is women's finals heat 1. SDCB with Malice, Fringe C with Boson. And as you'll see, again, the women's finals heats are particularly boring. To the extent that you can have boring finals heats. I mean, these are all. I mean, there's a little bit of a moderate excitement in one of them, but otherwise they're just clean, smooth races. But I mean, Malice just shows here that even as a B team buggy, like, it's such a good buggy. My God, I mean, the Hill 3 pusher. Just watch the pickup.
Looking like it's going to be a pretty nice rollout, and Fringe not too far behind with an even tighter line, but similarly carrying some speed there.
Has Fringe been taking that inside of a line? Oh, as the Hill 3 pusher gets dusted by Malice.
I mean, she gets 2 bumps. That's it. And this is
What's Malice's current situation? Is it broken?
There's the transition. That is a very, very, very.
I believe that's a teaser for next week, as I understand it.
I mean, it's kind of a teaser. We're not going to see it on race day because it didn't make it. But the answer coming from a non-SDC person is that yes, it's broken, and I believe with a career-ending injury. But an SDC person can correct me if I'm wrong.
Have you guys ever seen the Buggy compilation of Vines?
No.
It's so good, and there's one. It's like a bunch of famous Vines captioned like different things that happen at rolls. Like, this is a pusher workout. This is like a chairman. This is like whatever. And
send the link.
I gotta find it. The SDC one is a weatherman trying to interview a kid. And the kid turns around and goes like, "Wouldn't you like to know, weather boy?" And the guy's like, "Okay, that was uncalled for, but sounds good."
So that's by our Sarah Connor. About 2 years ago, she made it as a joke during rolls.
That's a lot. That's a lot more. That's a lot more. What's the word I'm looking for? I wasn't going to give the origin story of it. I was just going to call it a fun.
No, I'm calling it out. Sarah Connor made it during rolls. It was great.
It's amazing.
That sounds phenomenal, and I'm really disappointed that nobody sent it to me or told me about it. Until now.
I have a slightly more salty version. Yes, we have one that is available to the public.
Hill 1 is Bridget Sedurna. Hill 2, Caitlin Smith. Hill 3, Sarah Frankel. Hill 4, Rianne Brooks, and Hill 5, Renee Morton. The driver, Amanda Ventura.
So SDC managed to get 3 teams into the women's finals in 2018. As a reminder, beginning in 2017, the women's finals expanded to 10 teams. And in 2018, it made a lot of sense, as for the second time in 3 years, we had very close to perfect parity between men's and women's. There were 27 men's teams and 25 women's teams in 2018.
I was gonna say,
So,
it's like
too short.
I think Fringe also got 3 teams into women's finals, but yeah, we did. We just saw Bozon.
That is also correct. Fringe also got 3 teams, and CIA got 2.
I don't know where.
Booth stopwatch.
I mean, I don't know.
Wait, so here's another thing we were discussing last week about whether we decided to put Boson or Blue Shift on A team, and I mentioned that we had a problem because our Blue Shift's driver was a contender for A team. So actually, I was wrong last week. She was definitely B team in 2017. But in 2018, she was an H'er, and so she ended up being our 18 Hill 3, and that's part of why ended up on Women's A. Was Blue Shift's driver was pushing this heat.
Right around that 21-22-second mark.
Slightly faster than
It's a good reason.
Yeah, you see Amy on Hill 3. That's part of why Bumper ended up as 18 for Women's and Blue.
SDC taking a tough line over the.
If only you had bigger wheels.
That got a little bumpy.
So I think that's the same analogy or same situation as 2015 CI when the ladies took home the trophy there. The men's A driver was pushing on women's A, which is why Ascension wasn't the A team driver for them.
Pretty good number for them.
Ben, if I send you this this Vine compilation and queue it up for after the thing and watch it together as a group.
Sure. Twist my arm harder.
Is there gonna be sound?
I would assume so. If there's sound for this, why wouldn't there be for that?
Oh, I'm on the voice chat. I muted the actual sound, so to me there's no sound. I didn't realize there was sound.
Yes, there is sound for the races. You do hear the races.
So
Quiet.
that is Luke's driver right now pushing that Hill 3.
Get up on that podium.
Another reason that Bumper ended up on our women's team being higher than our men's team is Bumper is a very light buggy, which makes it an amazing women's D team buggy. I pushed it on women's D in 2019, and it was basically like you were pushing nothing. Like it weighs nothing.
It's really important to have that role covered. Like you really need a good women's D team buggy for that.
Okay, listen, that's not how it was built, but that's how it ended up, unfortunately.
You should DQ your mechanics until they learn some responsibility.
That was not me, for the record.
See, my own opinion is any buggy weighing less than 40 pounds or built more recently than 1987 should not be a D-team buggy.
That's what I'm saying. You guys should build 40+ pound buggies. Possible to get it to 11 with them.
I mean, it's limo or bust. Like, that's it.
I mean,
No matter
CI is
what.
doing well with Aurora there. They're pretty close.
Wait, Brian, what'd you say?
So the D-team buggy, it's a limo or bust.
I see a 2:38.87 up top. I don't
Oh.
know if that means that's at their time. Perhaps if so, that would mean they lost a little bit.
That is correct. The live updated leaderboard has Fringe A at a 2:38.87, which puts them about a second behind SDCB.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and introduce these rosters here.
I had fixed up the banner. It stays clean the whole day.
So that race, that time was good enough to put Bumper 5th. I missed out pointing out that Malice in the last race clocked in at 2:37.49, which puts them 4th overall. So Bumper and Malice switched places on day 2.
I'm a firm believer that if we had rolled Boson on Women's A and kept Amy on Hill 3, we would have been one place higher.
Hannah Linus. Hill 3,
I mean, honestly, if Fringe had just repeated their day one performance on day two, they would have stayed in fourth. You got a second and a half slower.
Yeah, I remember that. It was a whole ordeal.
Also, further signs that maybe small wheels not the right decision. Bumper was the slowest buggy from shoot speeds from the women's heats at 30.6 miles per hour. Barely edging out Equinox in this particular race.
How was Pika, who also had small wheels?
And here we have a race of small wheels
Also-
versus big wheels.
Also, as we will see in that heat coming up in Heat 4, significantly slower than the other teams. They were only 31.8. We'll see in that heat that Blue Shift is 33.1, and you will notice the difference.
And I do believe they're wearing the exact same shirt because it is the Emperor shirt for this year. In fact, the entire team
Sophomore Andrea.
It looks like it, and pretty quick 21 second, 22 second hill on there.
That's right.
Hold on.
Sophomore or freshman? I guess it must have been
She's a
sophomore.
senior this year, right?
Yeah, she was a
Yeah.
sophomore in 2017.
That's right.
Their B team's rolling pretty nicely as well.
Yeah, not that far behind.
Sorry, a
Another team
freshman
with a decent
in
amount of
2017. I'm clearly confused.
And it's interesting to see.
You know what? What is time anymore? It doesn't really have any meaning.
No one really knows. Quarantine time isn't real, so I've forgotten how to track it.
These two buggies is relatively equal, though it does look like Emperor is pulling away a bit here on the free roll.
Fringe did the same thing.
So CIA and SDC are definitely teams that particularly enjoy racing each other as opposed to other teams, which I think we've talked about before, and it does make some sense.
Yeah, it has come up before. Although in these cases for finals, those you don't really get to decide too much on, because finals are determined by your placement more than anything else, and the only adjustments come when there are potential conflicts coming over the top of the hill.
True, though CIA B and C did decide to race against each other in prelims.
Yes, in prelims, yes, that's true.
Just gotta keep shooting, keep going.
It's nice knowing that you're not going to be messed up by another team on the course who beats you over the hill and then goes slowly when you're trying to go quick.
Hill 1's difficult because you're starting from a dead start.
Oh god.
There's something about Hill 4.
You are correct that they had no choice here. The CIA was the third fastest time in prelims, CIA B was the eighth fastest time in prelims, and that is also how it will end.
That's that said, I do love matching up your A against your B team in finals. Prep is way easier, but we've discussed this.
CIA-B probably around the 240.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit.
And CIA-A probably the 230.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a bit stuttery.
But it's
like
okay because audio communication
No, I wish.
is really important right now.
No, I'm saying that I wish that we had the opportunity to race our A versus our B teams more often, because while the prep is more intense, there's less of it. So I think that overall it does make prep easier.
I agree. Not that I ever dealt with it or had the opportunity to. I was always pushing.
No, I'm absolutely a fan of matching up your teams against each other.
Yeah, your sound is hilarious.
Yikes. Okay, hang on. Let me fix my Wi-Fi.
Okay.
I will point out that Emperor in that last race had a shoot speed of 32.6 miles per hour. Equinox, the second slowest of the women's heats, at 30.7.
It's such an interesting proxy metric to me. Like when we started doing that recently, is talking about the point in time speed for these individual buggies. Like it's just a different way to rank them. You know what I mean? But there's always like free roll time, and there's always the time that the team puts up and things like that. It's interesting. But it's like only interesting. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yep.
yesterday.
No, I agree with that, and I mean, you're trying to capture the fastest point of the buggy without interfering with it too much, which is why they choose the location that they're at. Because theoretically, that's when the buggy is at nearly max speed at that point, and the only little gain you get is the distance between that and the chute flag. So theoretically, it's a judge of how fast the buggy can get up to, but it's dependent on so many different things.
So Pike has started in the past couple of years. They have their speed trap placed, and they have the barcode and stuff on the side of the buggy. Can some Pike tell me what the resulting measurement is there? Is it like miles per hour?
So I can actually tell you that. So Ben Brown, the guy who runs the speed trap, the number that he wants to give out is feet per second. And so that's nominally what we put out there. However, I also start converting it to miles per hour because that's what most people understand, as opposed to feet per second.
Is it feet? Is the barcode on the side? Is it like, does it measure the distance between the beginning and end of the barcode? I guess that has to.
The barcode is actually really cool. The barcode measurement that he tried to roll out, although only CI and Pike participated in the tests, was an effort to automatically encode the name of the buggy and the
that's
team
awesome.
into the recording. Yeah. He was working with Mark Estes to try and get a camera attached to the system so that it would take a picture along with the reading, but it impacted the reading too much, actually. So that's why he was looking at the barcode.
So, guys, sorry. This is one of my favorite heats of all time. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, much better.
Awesome. Okay, so obviously we see Fringe B catching up with Pike A here at the end of the free roll. So Blue Shift is obviously a very fast buggy, but on top of that, we discussed how this was one of the fastest women's teams ever to not trophy. I remember our team was like very heartbroken over it, but no, I just remember we were so incredibly proud of them this year. Them catching up to Pike A in particular was like a big point of pride this year.
And to just comment on the fact that we were talking about the small wheels versus the bigger wheels. I mean, chute speeds here. And I mean, you could see, I mean, Pika had a pretty big lead going in, but Blue Shift obviously caught them by the time they got to hill 3. Pika's chute speed 31.8. Blue Shift's chute speed 33.1. So that's like a mile and a half per hour faster.
Back to the big wheels versus small wheels, I think if we had put Boson on our A team, that way we could have kept Blue Shift's driver on our A3. We would have absolutely placed at least one place higher. I think even if we'd put Blue Shift on our A team and had to find a new A team hill 3, we still would have placed higher. Just because Blue Shift is such a fast buggy compared to Bumper.
Also, I do just want to be clear. I don't know if small wheels versus big wheels is that entire difference. Just pointing out there is a difference, and wheels was a thing.
There were some additional issues Pike's side that year, but I have always been against small wheels, but that was not the only issue for us.
The hill 1-2 transition certainly did not help that year.
No, it didn't. But that was something that we worked on a lot coming in the next year. But yes, there was a lot of places where we could have picked up time.
There's actually a shockingly good photo in the buggy in the BAA gallery of how bad that the hill 1-2 transition was. Because I was looking through photos and I noticed there's one where it's like it's a hill 2 pusher basically reaching backwards to try and get the buggy, and I think it was Guillermo's photo. It was either Guillermo's or Ben's, I can't remember. One of you guys did a great job getting a perfect photo of what happens when you overestimate where you're going to pick up a buggy on hill 2.
2018. I don't think I took as many pictures in 2018. I definitely took fewer in 2019. I think 17 was my high point. Photo-wise, so far. So I would guess Guillermo, but yeah, of the two of us that post a lot of pictures, there's a good bet it's one of the two.
And even with all those issues that Banshee had, the time was still a second place time, even though it was a second and a half slower than day one. But it does lead into what becomes the largest gap on the women's side since, what did I say, 1996? I think, when Pioneers was second, thanks to a bunch of DQs. It ends up being an almost 12-second gap from SDC in this role to Pike in second.
Giving them some good space in between themselves and Spirit A. Gliding into the free roll
That
now.
battle rattle.
Spirit taking a rough line over that patch.
The wheel geometry argument is such a weird one. I think people like tend to over-index on apparent differences between wheels, like size or color or whatever, and not like empirical data about the wheel's performance.
Well, I think a lot of those conversations are happening where empirical data is not available and will never be available, or at least intended to never be available, right?
And here comes Inferno now. I can practically see.
Yeah, wheel geometry is a very interesting conversation, because I know that one came up when Spirit changed their wheels from the pneumatics over to the urethanes.
No, it's like every carnival party I ever go to where people are like, we got to get better wheels for next year. The first thing is like, okay, what size should they be? And like, that's not not where you should start on the flowchart, I think.
Not at this point.
Like,
there was a time when that may have been relevant.
Yeah, like pick the one that goes on the most buggies and that you can get made the easiest because all the molds exist. Like, get that one, right? It's like a business development problem. It's not a mechanical engineering problem.
SDCA very, very far ahead. This is going to be an extremely competitive time right here.
I tend to disagree with that slightly in that it is the difference between a second here, a second there, and you're on the verge of winning. Making sure it is absolutely optimized using mechanical engineering, I think, is important. So I don't know. I hear what you're saying, but my biggest question is when you can find data and try out different things, you should, and figure out based on what your data is saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd agree that you should go with the fastest thing, but I think for a lot of teams, what they should, I mean, they don't necessarily have that option. They can't like put the same urethane on a whole bunch of different treads and a whole bunch of different, wheel sizes and A/B test them. Like, they just have to get what they get. And so it's like, okay, well, we should like spend all of our effort, getting blah 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 small wheels because the rotational inertia is, all sorts of things. I think basically just people over-index on things that they know about versus like urethane synthesis, which they don't know about. And it's like the important part.
Jeremy or Mike, I'm curious, since the SDC women's time there was a 2:23.6, so about half second off the course record. How disappointed was SDC that they did not set a record that year?
I mean, if anyone rolls a 2:23 something in women's and they're disappointed, then I don't know what to tell them.
Jeremy, was it you when SDC was like their second year of being really good? Somebody bet me a drink for every record SDC set, and like they would buy me a drink if one of the teams didn't set a record, and I ended up owing them like course record. I ended up owing them like 6 beers.
I don't know that I knew you back then, McHugh.
Yeah, you did. Don't lie.
Knew of, not necessarily knew personally.
Yeah, don't like there was probably a poster of me with darts on it in the SDC room or something, but knew who I was.
Oh yeah, I mean the stories have been passed down. But,
yeah, I mean the effigy that you guys ceremonially burn every year.
You didn't pee in their buggies. They have dartboards for that guy.
Can't be specific. Make it funny. Keep it light.
17.3 seconds for one. Pretty good, but not the fastest of the day. Spirit.
Well,
this is the first men's finals heat. So I'm a little curious because I did not know this, and I have something to say about Sigep's Hill 5 pusher at the end. But I'm curious to the Fringe people. So I learned now that Bumper was originally just a code name like any other, where it then stuck. At what point, what made you guys decide to go with it and then to actually add bumper stickers.
Super fast, but we'll see how she does through the back hills too.
So this was actually a funny story. This was an idea that Hunter had. So our head mechanic, my co-head mechanic this year, as a freshman, he was like, "What if we named a buggy Bumper and covered it in bumper stickers?" And everyone was like, "Oh, absolutely not." And then eventually he becomes a senior and becomes in charge of the org and the team, and we all decide it's a wonderful idea. So it was basically Hunter's freshman dream coming true.
I love how enthusiastically you told that story, even though it's a pretty mundane story.
It's an
So
absolutely
one
mundane
year,
story.
Hunter wanted to put bumper stickers on a buggy, and then he did it.
Okay, but the thing is, it was the name Bumper was in the voting for us for basically every buggy since Balius. So we had 3 years in a row where Bumper was in the voting. And every year we were like, no, it's too ridiculous. We're not going to do it. And then we built a freaking small wheels buggy. And we were like, okay, clearly we don't care about anything anymore. We're naming it Bumper.
I thought it was for rubber baby buggy bumpers.
So I do want to quickly point out the SIGEP C 5 pusher injures his leg. I assume it's a pulled hamstring, but it's not good. Yeah, so this significantly hurts their time, and they get about 20 seconds slower. I will say, he's a trooper for finishing the race, though. The idea, you guys may have hated the idea of the bumper sticker idea, but I got to tell you, I didn't realize this until putting the awards in the History of Buggy series, but Spirit basically had a monopoly on the People's Choice Award. I mean, after Aether won in 2010 because A Pie that year built a new buggy and convinced every brother to take a break from building boot that morning to run over to Design Comp, put in a vote for Aether, and then go back to building booth. Spirit had won People's Choice 7 years in a row. Like, it didn't matter whatever buggy they had entered, or I mean, I guess back in the day it was just
Brian.
It wasn't you didn't enter one; it was every buggy was eligible.
Brian,
But
that's
then
funny
you guys
because
came out with the bumper sticker one and broke that streak.
Fringe was actually acutely aware of that Spirit always won People's Choice, and we were like, screw it, we're winning this year. And that's part of what inspired Bumper, but then we won again the next year with Blind Faith. So the streak is officially broken.
It's weird that Spirit had that streak. I don't think Fringe ever lost People's Choice when I was an undergrad, and I was an undergrad for longer than average.
The A Pie winning People's Choice in 2010 was a concerted effort because we had Buggy had the longest trophy streak in the house. We had won Chairman's Choice in 2007, Spirit of Buggy in 2008, and Chairman's Choice again in 2009. So we were looking around and it's like, well, we can't, there's no way we can guarantee t-shirt. So what can we do? It's like, all right, People's Choice it is. So we went all out to try and win People's Choice.
Yeah, Fringe was acutely aware that Spirit had been winning People's Choice, and we that year told people that they had to come to Design Comp if they were going to learn the new buggy's name. We weren't posting it anywhere. That said, it was the same name that we had rolled with for the last 4 weeks as our temporary name. We just stuck with it.
Ben, can you just quickly, can you go back to the very start of this race again? Because I just want to point out here, and I want people to decide, and turn up the volume on it, because I want people to decide if this is a false start by Pika B.
I think it's pretty clear.
On Hill 1, they have Assad
You can probably jump forward a little bit. I didn't mean the very beginning of the file, just the very beginning of the race. I mean, you can leave it back here if you want. But...
And Hill 5, Luke Deasy. And in lane 1, CIA. 30 seconds until the start of this one. Can see CIA.
Sorry, I had to hop out for a second. I'm back.
Pika there, waiting to put it down.
I mean, so Pika B was not DQ'd for a false start here, and I don't know. I mean, it's, I don't know.
False starts aren't a DQable.
Well, yeah, the first false start is actually you restart the race, but the second one you're DQ'd.
Right.
Eddie has a
With that said,
2:15.53 is the time to beat.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ready.
Wow.
And here we are.
That
both teams
definitely
going
seems like one.
CIAA, Pika B. Both have eyes on taking the top spot on the
I mean,
leaderboard.
it's got to be right. Like that's
Actually, if you go back though, I almost think that he just like shifted his legs, but didn't actually move anything forward.
You're not allowed to do that either, though, right? I thought there was some provision where you can't make a football move or whatever, like one of those.
Oh yeah, no, he false started. Never mind.
Very clearly a false start. But as we've discussed in the past, I'm pretty sure there is not a good false start procedure of stopping them.
Dude.
Like they've tried to stop pushers after doing that, but they just can't.
I have been harassing sweepstakes every year, and Dia, you missed it by like a month, but I was going to be like sending you emails like, hey, you guys do not have a procedure for handling false starts. This needs to be implemented.
Guys, I think everybody in the BA should be able to pick one rule and rewrite it however they want. So I'll go first, rank EQ, and then Jeremy can have false start, and then I don't know, do you want pacing? That's stupid.
I've gotten some arguments that the pacing rule is a valid rule. Actually, I've heard some of those.
Yeah, I think we were talking about it last time. I think Willie was in the chat.
What's wrong with the pacing rule? I think it's pretty legit, actually.
Right, CIA taking their shoot.
My question was, what advantage does it give? But I think in terms of keeping people from just sprinting around the course.
They're both through clean without a little bit of a wiggle from Pika, but
well, I think pacing gives an advantage. I think the way the pacing rule is enforced,
yes,
go beyond the pacing that would actually give an advantage.
That's reasonable. Yeah, running on the sidewalk next to the person, they're not be able to see them. They're not really pacing.
Like that, especially with the advantage they got there.
To be fair, I've been in the room for chairmans for the last 4 years, since 2016. And I think we've only had one serious discussion of a DQ for pacing.
Transition 4 to 5.
There were two last year.
Those were pretty quickly dismissed, as I remember.
Yes, but there were two. So it happens where people put them in, but
people bring them
really
up.
No, usually they're easily dismissed. Like, no, calm down, that is a child, you know? There's only been one serious discussion of it, as long as I've been in the room.
If you're getting paced by a child on race day, you should have different pushers.
I remember that kid.
Yeah.
You can see him in multiple videos. He was just like running up hill 1 constantly.
It's a real ringer.
And I was one of those hill ones.
I mean, we did have that stretch of a couple of years where teams got DQ'd for pacing, but it's typically not the good teams. I mean, it was A Pi B or A Pi C. It was CIA C or D.
But see, that's so stupid. Like, why? Like, are they getting a competitive advantage? Do they have somebody out there doing it to like?
Right. I mean, AE Pi, it was an alum who didn't realize that was a rule, trying to record Camo's roll the entire way around with his camera.
Yeah. So my thesis when I was talking to Andrea about ranked EQ, and it's also my thesis on pacing, is that you shouldn't ever run into a situation where you do nothing wrong and are DQ'd. So like if you have an alumnus who's like running up and down the course and the team is DQ'd from that, that's ridiculous, and like that shouldn't be a rule. If you like sort your teams correctly and have no mechanical failure and nothing else, but they finish in an unexpected order, maybe because they were like similar teams in terms of speed, you've done nothing wrong. You shouldn't get DQ'd.
But
McHugh, on the contrary, rules are rules.
that is
the argument.
That's the lawful argument.
Yeah.
So,
holy shit! I want to point out CIB keeping up with SDCB in this heat, like pretty neck and neck up those front hills, and just on the hill too. God.
We love for Alex keeping pace.
Oh yeah.
I also want to quickly point out the other problem, McHugh, with your arguing that pacing should not be DQ either. Under your rules, alumni are only allowed to change one rule, and now you're trying to change both rank and pacing. Those are
I'm trying to influence you guys to change the rules that I want.
He's trying to get somebody else to choose the pacing rule and make it his idea of how it should be changed.
Yeah.
I'm
lobbying. I'm a lobbyist.
I'm gonna choose the rank DQ rule after McHugh changes it to remove it.
No, you can't. No, it's not. It's based on, I don't know. It's based on some other thing where I win.
Everybody gets to pick one.
Here's another rule that's kind of stupid. Extraction tool. And before I get the counter arguments, here's what I would say about extraction tools. Unless it's like the cup of a carpenter or something that opens up your buggy, this safety share should just carry a screwdriver with them and be like, hey, if you guys need this to open up your buggy, I have it. And so now everybody's immune to the extraction tool problem. Like, that's another dumb way to get DQ'd.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with that is, in theory, different buggies could require different tools.
Well, not in theory. In definition, different buggies require different tools. Like, I don't think a screwdriver would open any CIA buggy from my time. We didn't use.
Is there a specific tool that would open CIA buggies? I mean, it's not a Stargate. It's like it's a buggy. There's also a certain set of tools that are like reasonable.
I think the argument is you should have someone who knows the right way to open your buggy nearby. It's not that hard to bring an extra tool with you for safety.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
The extraction tool one, I don't understand the dislike of, because that's just putting more onus on sweepstakes to have all the right tools.
I just think it's like a bro thing for the safety share to have, where it's like, don't worry, as long as your buggy can be opened by one of these three things that I have in my pocket, you're immune from the extraction tool DQ.
How often does the extraction tool DQ come up?
I don't know, and that's another thing. It's like probably rarely, but not never.
I can't
and it's
say
like
I can think of ever a situation where that's come up.
Yeah.
Like it's more of a rule to make sure that the right safety equipment is there, not to like force somebody to or not as a gotcha rule, right? It's to be like, hey, this is a rule so that we can make sure to extract a driver safely and have things on hand and not have to wait for something to show up.
Yeah, I'm reaching a little bit. Just trying to think of other controversial rules.
I mean,
so
honestly, my opinion from yesterday is the one I take, the vision rule.
The vision rule?
Only being 45 off a center. Not nearly enough vision.
Fully through. So just fully clear. Just,
every buggy's strata fortress.
All the way. Or the DU one that I don't know the name of. I do want to quickly just have people pay attention to this race because, as I said, SDC's spin on Friday was wiped out by the reroll, so we almost had a perfectly clean, no DNFs day, and then we get this heat, which is the second to last men's finals heat. Also, again, Apex A well in the back, only making it the second race day because Apex B took a reroll instead of their finals time, which
somebody should teach those guys a lesson
to sneak in. But Apex here, well behind. Just Pika. I don't know what happens, but just keep watching Pika.
Yeah.
So this is in line with the other wheel issues we had. Our wheelman from this year promptly resigned and did not participate in Buggy for his senior year after this, he was really upset.
Do you guys make him like commit seppuku, or what's the punishment for that?
It was more of a self-inflicted thing. He decided to put all of his focus into Greek Sing. That was his excuse.
That is the problem. You should never focus on Greek Sing.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah, so that was not the best.
Did you guys win Greek Sing, or did you guys spin out in that too?
Dude, that was the year
where
we should have won Greek Sing, and A Pie came out of nowhere with a great show to beat us.
Yeah, out of nowhere, right?
I gotta tell you, when it comes to single shows in Greek Sing, A Pie knows what they're doing.
Absolutely.
So it was their first year doing a double show, and they put on an absolutely fantastic show. They were last one of the day. We thought we had in the bag, and they came through and beat us. Really impressed.
Yeah. I do want to respond really quickly. So Shafiq brought up bigger windshields have bigger cross protection problem. I'm not necessarily talking about bigger windshields. I'm just talking about more vision. You can have more vision without having a bigger windshield.
How about a spotter, like radio communication to the drivers?
That'd be an interesting one. Allow two-way communication or one-way communication.
I want to say, and I think Tisha would agree, so I did not get to see inside very many buggies as sweepstakes here. From my experience with fringe buggies, the vision is usually limited by other gear in the buggy and not so much by the windshield. So
Sure.
I agree. I don't think it would take bigger windshields to get a wider range of vision.
There is a reason I chose not to use windshield in my opinion. I think I chose windshield. Which I know a lot of people take that tack for very good reasons. Like, right, the windshield is the primary one generally. But where is it? I want to actually see what wording I used.
Great picture there.
Try and be very conscious about it.
I pushed your photo. I was referring to spirits and not SDCs. Not that there's anything wrong with SDCs.
Hill 2, Boy Yao Yu. Hill 3, Kevin DeVincentis.
And by spirit I meant to get. Sorry. My apologies.
Hill 5, Brandon Foster. Their driver, Annie Black, and they're rolling in Inferno. Under 30 seconds to go. Inferno coming out of the truck. This is the final heat of race day.
This is the last this is the last finals heat. There is, however, a reroll for Apex A thanks to the spin out by Pika.
And then vines. There's vines afterwards.
There's also vines. We can also try to see if we can get the drivers exhibition. And then there was the thing that we were talking about before that we wanted to replay, and I honestly don't remember what it was. Does anyone remember?
Dislocation.
Oh, that's right. That's what it was. Yeah. The men's heats, not women's.
Can we just look at the start there again with SIG FA? I don't know if you guys picked up on it, because this guy was like way over the line, and a lot of people, didn't want this to become an issue. So like 6 people are yelling at him like, back up, back up, back up. And he actually like listens.
Yep.
There you go.
I want to say this is Carl, which is SIGAP's current chair.
No, that's not Carl. That is.
That guy's way bigger than Carl. No offense to Carl.
That's Phil Johnson.
I can't tell anything. I see black hair that looks bigger like Carl.
If somebody can count how many people are in that view, where it shows the overhead of all the people, I would love to know how many people are in that shot.
24.5-second top of the hill. They're crushing it.
I'm really terrible at estimating crowd sizes.
I think there's a whole during one weird fact that has remained in my head for 3.5 years is after the Trump inauguration, there apparently is a whole branch of some weird science that's like estimating crowds and photos. Because people were like the Washington Post wrote something that's like, here's a crowd counter scientist to tell you that Trump's inauguration did not have the most ever or something.
Yeah, because you needed that.
Yeah. Wow, really earning his paycheck today.
Right, yeah.
That guy was a former bean in the jar counting champion.
I totally believe that exists, and I would honestly believe that it stemmed from bio cell counting.
I'm gonna Google this on a different computer and figure out. Great, because like we should just send him the video and be like, how many people are in this thing?
Yeah.
Like, so it'd be so great to be able to do it.
That would be
like,
awesome.
Google crowd counting scientist.
I'm always trying to get a better picture of how many people actually show up for race day. Because like CMU has their whatever counting measurements that they use that are always inaccurate. The best count we have so far is how many donuts they go through in the day, which
there's a whole Wikipedia article on this.
That makes a lot of sense.
Sweepstakes has to be able to tell how many people are at each race day for various things, from like sponsorships to some funding, and we always just guess. We don't have a good idea.
Out of curiosity, what do you? What?
I want to say it was on the order of like 2,000.
Oh, no way.
Depends on which
No, it was
application. For sponsorships, it's $1 million. For police coverage, it's 50.
Yep.
it was in the low thousands. I want to say.
I believe that would have been the guesstimate, but I'm quite certain that it's closer to like 500.
When you guys tell people that you do Buggy and you have to explain it, do you include the number of people that participate in it every year?
No.
Absolutely.
I try to because it legitimizes it a little bit.
It usually never comes up as part of the questioning, I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
No, I volunteer the information.
That's fair.
I
That's
tell
fair.
people 1,000 people do it a year.
I guess it also doesn't come up too much that I'm explaining it.
That doesn't sound right.
Well, most of the people that I talk to already know about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's not a whole lot of new people that I'm teaching.
So wait, Brian, Apex did get a reroll, or no? I'm sorry, this is a different team. Sorry, different Apex.
This is the Apex Men's Finals reroll as a result of Pika spinning out.
Got it.
To be fair, I just checked. We guesstimated 2,000 for Buggy 100. For a regular race, we would guess about 1,000.
That sounds more accurate.
I don't think. I mean, if you're including the teams themselves, I don't think 2,000 is a terrible guess for people who show up at some point on the course over the 2-day period.
What do you think the sum of the teams is?
We are including teams themselves and teams themselves.
Teams themselves are about 400 to 500 on their own.
Yeah, we guessed like 400.
Yeah.
Right, and that's why I think if you include that, I don't think 2,000 is a bad guess.
That's reasonable for, especially including both days and total number of people.
Nice line, despite the pocket.
Yeah, we usually. I think that in the past they've guesstimated like 1,000 to 1,500 for a regular year. For Buggy 100, we estimated 2,000.
Yeah.
Plus, with booths so close, you get a bunch of people that just like walk over for a little bit, and that just creates more volume.
Well, you do now.
No, exactly.
That was not the case for a long time.
All right. Well, in my experience, because that's how it's always been since I was there.
Well, right. So it used to be that Midway was in Morewood, on the Morewood parking lot. So it was very far away.
I said something the other day that was like, have you like 5R or whatever, and nobody, like, there was a group of people that didn't know what I was talking about, which I found to be tragic. But
yeah, tragic.
Old Midway and old 5R were good things.
And I want to clarify.
Midway and Chipotle are bad things.
By Morewood, Ben means the new Temper Quad.
Well, no, the parking lot is still in the same place. Like, it didn't take up where the Tepper Quad is when we were there. It used to take up the whole parking lot in, like, the 90s. Like, where the Tepper Quad is. That whole space used to be a parking lot. All right.
Am I misjudging where the Tepper Quad is?
It's very much back against the wall. It takes up a lot of the space that was formerly a hillside.
Vines. Play Vines.
Yes, that's right. And I'm gonna do this in a way that is sneaky. So let's see. So if I do, so we're gonna do.
What are
this
you trying to hide?
I asked not to share it because it's not necessarily mine to pass around.
Right.
But it's also too funny to not look at. So
yeah. And then we go.
Sarah did an awesome job with this video.
All right, here we go.
It's yours to share to everyone, but not pass around.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There we go. All right.
And share on a public YouTube.
Well, I guess first I want to say thank everybody for watching the races. We are in the addendum section, so thank you for joining us. Feel free to stick around until we're done for our next like.
There's 21 people watching, and like 7 of them are actually commentating right now. So it's I feel okay sharing this in this group.
Hey, I'd just like to add that in, you know, a little bit of professionalism. But here we go. That looks like it could have actually been at rolls.
Meow, meow, get up. No, he did. Oh shit, meow, meow. I thought she was dead.
I'm hungry. Don't you eat any of my food.
And then the 4th of July. Here's an actual customer out here. What's the best kind of fireworks to buy?
Oh, sorry.
Would you like to know, weather boy?
Where are your parents? Kid's sketchy. Back to you guys.
There's only one race. The human race. What about NASCAR?
I just can't walk that fast. I just can't.
Isn't that just doing the show?
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
I'm so tired of being here.
Do you ever like wake up or do something and you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
I'm drinking a Mountain Dew past midnight. I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight. I don't give a shit.
Come on. Come on. Come on, go. Go.
Welcome to physics.
Holy mother!
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me.
Da 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 da.
Oh wow! It's a mountain shellfish. Never seen one in the wild before.
Excuse me, sir. Has there ever been a robbery at this establishment?
Not that I know of. I don't know.
Let me see what you have.
No!
Oh my God. Let's go, girls.
What? What the fuck?
Stop saying I look like Chicken Little. He's dumb and he's a coward, and I'm not a coward.
When it's cold outside, I'm gonna keep my black ass in this house. Fuck today. If you love me, let
This is phenomenal.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Okay, class, let's take roll. Shithead?
It's a feed.
Is it real?
They're a little on the fringe specific side.
Fuck you.
Look at this graph.
Oh, hi, thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
You remember one time I liked you? No. Good, cause never happened. Aha. Oh.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Oh, that was great.
So, McHugh, thank you for bringing that up because it was actually made during Raceday 2018 or like during that season. So,
How
perfect timing.
fitting. Oh, that's awesome. I forgot about the kid with the knife. That was my second favorite.
All right.
The kid with a knife was a great one.
I have one more thing to show. Oh, wait. I need to real quick make sure that it's not muted anymore. So This was talked about for Raceday this year, but the class that was making the VR Buggy game continued making the VR Buggy game, but not in VR. It is now a web app that will be available to everyone soon. It's not yet complete. They're making some final additions and stuff like that. But yeah, we're like.
Oh, is this Buggy All Stars?
Yes, it is.
Sigma opted on a clever
Fuck yeah! I emailed this guy and I asked for a copy of his source code and he was like, "Who are you and what?" But this looks so cool.
Well, so they are planning on continuing to work on it into next year. They do want to bring it into the full VR, and so they had their final meeting, and they invited a few of us to join in who helped with the they invited Will, who did a lot of or I think all of the voices actually, as well as a few of us who helped with the conceptualization and information and stuff like that, who they really reached out to. Apparently, when they polled the class,
undisputed as the king and queen of
the
course,
I think
SDC's
30 students they had or so, approximately, 2 had any idea what Buggy was before they started making
straight up Malice in there.
Oh yeah, a really fat Malice too. Like I always look at that because they have a number of Buggies in there that are cartoonized and all that sort of stuff, but to have
would have been useful at least. The fish.
Like stealth is reasonably accurate.
No, this is like when Darth Vader is a playable character in Soul Calibur. It's a bunch of made up stuff and then one real thing.
Well, these are all real Buggies, aside from Super Buggy.
Pirate ship, really?
From
yes, Signu from 1922.
And in fact, one that
I think that one design comp, if I'm remembering the history of Buggy right.
It did with the caption "Psy Comfort" and his pirate brig. That was the Psy Comfort, I guess, was the. I don't know if that's the real person's name or just what they called the captain of the ship. But yeah, the pirate ship is 1922. The skeleton that Ben just had up was the Iota Sigma Delta's winner in 1921. So that's the first. I believe that's the first Buggy that this has. Although I saw DU Fish also, which is also 1921.
Play it. Play the game.
After winning 1921.
So yeah, so I just want to look at this because the Super Buggy is stuck, but you can choose all the colors and stuff like that depending on what you want. I like that they added a tiger.
Oh, it doesn't do the racing part yet. It's like just
no, it does do the racing part. But I wanted to point out that they have a map selection, and I really want to know if they're adding new maps.
It's like Circuit of the Americas or something.
Yeah.
All right.
Rainbow Road.
Starting line.
That would be amazing.
And this is it. Here we go.
So
Malice is definitely a blue.
It is 4 lanes wide. You'll notice.
Oh my!
This is because they wanted it to.
This is insane.
Be up against other people. You can also, get out of your lane, because you have to for some cases here, like the speed boost.
Wondering how these pots
This is amazing.
are going to affect our
But,
drivers'
yeah.
lives.
So much.
We will absolutely be sharing the link out. We are going to be. Oh yeah, that's right. Spacebar. Thank you, Tisha. Spacebar is change view, so you can be third person or first person as you go in. And then into the free roll.
Things are picking up speed in the free roll.
Sweepstakes has been arguing this week over whether it's possible to actually get through the free roll without crashing, and I think our decision was no.
I definitely have noticed that it was harder, although I think part of it is just the controls, and it looks like they may have cleaned up some of it, because it's definitely acting a lot better than the last time I messed around with this.
I think that's the best transistor roll I've ever seen.
Is it a web link, or is it how is this distributed?
It's a web app. It's a Unity over the web. So yeah, and they will continue working on this. They do still want to bring it to VR for next year.
This is so good. Oh my god!
Some drivers' dreams and some drivers' nightmares.
Look, you got the hay bales. Although the hay bales are.
Oh, they barricaded the bridge.
The monument model is really good.
The goal was for this to be out at Buggy Bash so we could demo
the
it.
last hill.
And they were also planning to take over a room in the
Buggy
library.
coming
You'll
through the
notice
chute, and that is a
missing
nice
the ground there.
pickup there by Hill 3,
on the
plenty
hillside.
smooth as they
A little bit.
continue up.
But yeah, they were gonna have a room in the library that was devoted to this, and gonna have 4 stations next to each other.
And that's a clean transition to
so that
Hill 4.
theoretically
They
you
are
could
looking at a great
race
time
against
here.
other people. Although I don't think they were actually planning on having people in the same race, just for.
Third-person view, because I think Fish is close. No.
They were close. I actually should have been in third. Yeah, they're close there. You'll notice the pushers are all.
This is the last hill.
They're hard to see in this, but the all the pushers for the Super Buggy are notable CMU people. This one, I believe, is Farnham, if I remember correctly.
Nice
the
potholes.
Yeah. The potholes and the speed boosts are something that they came out and it's like, oh wait, there are potholes on the course and we need obstacles. Duh.
Super Buggy is way ahead as they come up to the finish line.
Do you lose if you don't?
Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations to all of our racers. What an amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody was saying something and cut off.
You were saying
you didn't crash in the free roll, unless I missed something.
I did not. That is the first time I haven't crashed in the free roll, actually. The controls were much cleaner at that, so they've clearly already been cleaning up some pieces like that. From the demo we got from them a couple weeks ago, I think a couple weeks ago at this point, they were mostly focused on audio pieces, since there are some missing elements there. But yeah.
Okay, so clearly I need to play now to feel better about myself.
yeah, give it a shot and see if you feel the same thing. They were curious about testing it. They were like, yeah, we haven't tested it on a Chromebook yet. So during the meeting, I just pulled it out and tried it. I'm like, nah, you can do it, but it's not great. It does take a little
DLC.
bit.
I would love, like, when this is polished, I would love to like be able to import additional playable bugs.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I think it would be cool. They did have a plan initially to have some sort of mini game for the pushing piece of it, but they decided it got too repetitive and annoying, so they took it out. Also, it seems like that Hill 1 boost doesn't actually do anything when you go over it.
Just like the real Hill 1.
Right.
Do you actually do the pushing part, or are you just steering?
You're just steering at the moment. The VR demo that I think it was mostly just myself, Casey, and Anne. Somebody else was there for it. But that one you actually like grabbed a wheel with your with the VR controller in VR, so you actually like turned a wheel around. But that was less effective than they had hoped at the time. But that was also very early on, so it's like very normal to have in the development process. And probably one of the first teams that they.
That was back in the fall semester, right?
Correct. Wait, no. That's right. It was a year-long course. That's right. No. No. It wasn't a year-long course. It was just a semester course.
Is it possible to lose?
That's a good question.
It is, and I've done it many times.
There you go. All right. So yeah, so that we'll absolutely be sharing that out soon. I didn't want to show the link that I have because I'm pretty sure it's not the final link. That was the piece that I was concerned about when I was messing around with my windows. But yes, do not worry. As soon as we know what the final link is, and they actually have like a full site that they're putting in together for it with info and all that sort of stuff about the game, about the development, about Buggy and all that. So we couldn't be more excited to do that and to hear that they're planning to continue working on it. If I remember correctly, the lead producer, the student lead producer who was working on the game, is still going to be around next year and will be leading the team again. Yeah,
that is awesome. I will say I do like McHugh's point of if at the end of this project they can make it open source so that people who have skills can add all of the buggies that ever existed. But that's an issue for later.
Well, it is all built in Unity. So anybody who knows how to work in Unity, theoretically, you could do that. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely, now that we have the opportunity and time to talk with them about it, and knowing that they're planning to continue developing for it, that's certainly something that we could push on them. And they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do after they released it. Because there is still some upkeep you have to do with games that come out over a long term as other things develop, other software gets better, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Or as Unity breaks.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for now. I need to...
We watched the guy dislocate his shoulder.
Oh, we didn't. No, we didn't. All right. Does anybody remember what race it was?
Yes, it is. Hold on.
Oh, of course you do.
It is men's prelims heat. It was SDCD, right?
Not women's.
Because they were keeping up with Apex. So that's men's heat 3.
All right, and it's the Hill 2 pusher?
Hill 1, Harrison
Hill 2 pusher.
All right, we're jumping ahead.
So it's different buggy, Mark. But good question.
Good to know.
While we're doing this,
Oh, sorry.
I will remind anyone who's out there and is a BAA member, elections are now open.
Oh, good call.
There is one contested position for vice president. Both Dave Singh and Willie Clark are running for that. So voting is open until next Thursday, I think. So make sure to get your vote in. If you're not a member yet, it will give you instructions for how to become a member so that your vote can count. And if you are a member, thank you. There's the list should be on the site somewhere, so you can see if you're already on the list or not.
SDC wants to run amok with these guys. They're pretty
Yeah.
close.
I think if you're a graduating senior, also a reminder to sign up because you get a year free.
Do we have that link easy to find? I don't know if we have that link easy to find.
Yes, but I want to watch the dislocated shoulder, and then I will tell you that later.
Here we go.
28 seconds at, and sorry, 28 seconds at the crosswalk.
I didn't see it.
Too, so,
I did not see much of anything.
Oh, is it up here?
Spirit kept their line relatively close to the curb coming.
Was this the wrong heat?
I don't know.
Why do I have Apex A? You're in 2019, not 2018.
Well, that would do it. That's weird. All right, one more time. That's weird because it was, yeah, it's also men's heat 3.
Cool. And I'm going to go
All
ahead.
right, here we go. One more time.
The road up, but man, it was cold just walking around out there.
So let's see, predicting a little bit of excitement here up and over. And so far, fairly neck and neck, SDCD, Apex A, maintaining about their starting positions right here. Apex A.
We have the wrong heat. Is it actually
separation?
SDCC and not SDCD?
SDC pulling back
No, wait,
tight.
no, still right. Okay.
Wow, and pretty much neck and neck on the transitions. Apex
All right,
A probably
watching.
just over the hill first.
Just off screen.
Does get that shove.
Oh, yep, there it is.
Goes through the bumps.
You popped it back in.
That may have cost.
Here, let's go
little
back
bit
to
of a
here.
separation, but
We're gonna slow this baby down. Go half speed.
SDC pulling
Oh, that audio
back
sucks.
tight.
Screw that. We're not listening to half speed audio. So wait, Kevin, is it C team? No, we got it right. It's D team, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the reaction to the fact that the original video didn't have anything.
Correct. I believe that. Or not correct, but yeah. Here we go. Right off the side and pop. It's very, very quick. Very quick. All right.
Impressive that he could just do that on his own.
It definitely seemed like it's something he's done before. All right. That's it. I'm done. I gotta go do other
Okay,
things.
so just quickly, if you are a graduating senior and do want your year of free membership, which also gives you the ability to vote in the election, It is cmubuggy.org/seniors.
There you go.
It's also available on the homepage. If you look in the very top right, you'll see seniors. It says become a 2020 member now for free. It's actually, we'll have to update that because it should be 2021. But cmubuggy.org/seniors, you can get your membership.
Go get it. Thanks, guys.
Last rewatch of the set that, in order with 2019.